Now it's time for Lefty's
Mortgage One Studios, Russ Clark. I'm getting situated, Dean. I'll figure it out. I keep hitting the wrong. I keep touching my phone. I have a touch screen phone. Obviously.
Well, yeah, very sophisticated. Keeps high tech.
Yeah, that's why I need help. Help running it. Well, good morning. Happy Wednesday. I know I have a disclaimer somewhere.
Yeah, I saw
buried. It's always nearby. All content presented on the Russ Clark Show, including statements made by guest commentators and callers, reflect the personal opinions of those individuals and is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. These views do not represent the official position of Mortgage One Studios, its owners, affiliates, employees, or partners. Mortgage One Studios does not endorse, verify, or guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements made by third parties during programming. But you should listen to us anyway.
Well,
I just threw that in there. That wasn't actually part of the script.
Figured these disclaimers are standard, you know.
Well, they are, and I know my friend Edward, who's has some broadcast business within his conglomerate of stuff. He had somebody look at what we were doing, and they said, "Where's the get out of jail free card? Where's?" And he actually wrote that, or his guys did, or somebody, and sent it to me. And said, we kind of recommend this.
Yeah, it's probably more important on a radio broadcast, I think.
Right. Right. On the podcast, probably not so much, but I might as well because that's our
practice,
that's our plan. We're going right back on to AM 560, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully before too long.
Things are in the works, and I think they look positive. I think links look real positive, but it's not done to the point where Derek feels able to come on and say,
right,
this is it.
He's prudent.
Hey, absolutely, man.
Which makes sense.
I like it a lot. Okay, I want to know if you're up to date on the whole Iran deal and Trump Foundation.
I watched some of 2C TV, and it's really it's hard to be sure exactly what's happening.
Sure.
Because it's a war, and I think that things are sorting out in the way we want them to sort out, but it's there's so much secrecy involved, and got to be careful. I don't think we're under military threat, but I do think we are probably going to have to use some more, what do they call it, kinetic options.
Right. Sounds so very clean, doesn't it? Very.
Yeah. President Trump came right out and said, well, I'll kill a lot of people. I don't want to kill the people.
And yesterday, a helicopter, I think it was yesterday, right? The helicopter allegedly got shut down. And some people have thought, at first when it went down, they thought it might be maintenance. They weren't sure. And now they're saying it was hit by a drone, which, a lot of people have questions, particularly military people and stuff. And I watched some stuff on air that says, a drone takedown a helicopter is doable, but not.
Well, and it's hard to survive if you're at any altitude. Helicopters are very complex machines, and you take out an important component, and they tend to fall out of the sky.
My understanding is this Apache was hit in the tail by the drone.
That's a very important component on a helicopter.
Oh, well, yeah, it keeps it from spinning like a top.
Well, right, and that's catastrophic.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to land like that. But if he was close enough to the water, low enough altitude, and it's not unusual for helicopters to fly like that, a few hundred feet above the ground.
Yeah, maybe. There was a...
I'd be curious to see the pilots if they can talk about it.
About 50 years ago, when I was in command of a meteorology team, we were across from an airfield.
Yeah.
And a helicopter, I don't remember, might have been a Cobra, I'm not sure. I think it was an attack helicopter, was doing unpowered practice of
auto rotation,
auto rotation into land.
Yeah.
And they miscalculated at one point and broke off the tail rotor, which flew about a half mile away and broke through about a 6x6 beam that held up part of an observation tower.
All by itself. But obviously they hit the ground and it broke off.
Right.
So they stayed on the ground. They're okay.
Well, the thing is that because of the rotation of the rotors, the helicopter started spinning around, flipped over, and I think the pilots escaped with broken leg.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
But
Dangerous.
I mean, that was right at ground level that it happened. They were almost stopped.
Yeah.
And so I
don't know.
And maybe it just like got part of a tail rotor or did something so that it was causing intense vibration.
And they took some time to release what it was. They didn't do it right away and say it was shot down.
Right.
They
probably
did
prudent.
They did some investigation. I mean, if they're telling the truth, and they would know the truth. I mean, they've got so much.
It's war.
Surveillance. Yeah, I know. But they got so much for surveillance going on, they would actually see something.
There's probably a lot of sensors on those aircraft too.
Yeah. Well, apparently not like a fighter jet. And they went through that yesterday about, when a fighter jet says, we got somebody locked on or something like that, they don't have that kind of equipment of somebody doing that. They've got radar, they got 360 visibility, they can spin around and all that, but they lack some of that fighter jet stuff. But there's other jets around that would have
and
seen.
As far as I can tell, I mean, there may be a helicopter or two out there that has some special provisions, but you generally can't eject out of a helicopter.
No, you can't,
because there's this spinning rotor.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. No, they got out in there.
They don't make ejection.
What I read is that it hit the water, and generally they flip over when they hit the water. In other words, they go upside down.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that was the briefing I got when I had to. I went out on a missile destroyer on a program, and they flew us back on a Black Hawk, and we had to sit through a little briefing
of
how to open the doors, how to get out. And they said, look, as soon as it hits the water, it's going to flip upside down. You're going to be disoriented, but just be ready for it. And when you swim out, water's, I mean, the air and the surface is the other way.
Well, and
anyway,
I had a friend of mine who described going through training where they put people in a helicopter frame and drop it into the water off a ship or into, I think it was actually like a big pool designed for it. So it was under controlled conditions. And he said they did this to show how you got out in a water ditch.
They guaranteed us that you'd flip upside down because the engine and weight and everything's on the top.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And, he said it was tough training. I mean, that's, They
didn't make us do it. We just got
told. You were just a passenger, but the people that he was talking about would do this as part of their missions,
Yeah. I skipped that one.
It didn't sound like fun to me.
But anyway, these guys apparently, from what I heard, last night, was they swam out of it, but there was a drone that came between them that was on fire. It did not blow up, and they swam away from it.
Oh,
and they were in the water for 2 hours before rescue.
Right, and they were rescued by an autonomous surface.
It was the first time in history that they sent somebody to rescue that didn't include personnel. I mean, it was just a machine. They said, "Go get them."
Yeah,
that's
and
amazing. Yeah,
I looked at that machine, and I forget I have the name right at the tip of my tongue here, but at that autonomous surface, well, it's 24 foot long.
Yeah,
they claim it has a range, I think,
1,000 miles.
1,000 miles.
That's what they said.
1,000 miles.
And it takes a payload of 1,000 pounds.
Right.
And what Gutfeld said about it was, well, that means like you could get 4 pilots on there easy, or 2 ladies from the view.
Unkind.
He is unkind, isn't he?
But
he's unkind.
But yeah, and it's the smallest. They have like a series of 3 or 4 autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
And they have the next one up from that is, I forget how big, but the biggest is like 130 feet and has a range of like 5,000 miles.
But I don't know anything about this. I didn't know it existed.
It's fairly new.
And it's
I think they put out the contract only about 6 or 7 months ago.
It's a private company that builds them.
Right.
So they built it not because, I guess, they contracted it to be built, but a private company built it, and they said, "I want one." Or
I understand it was a military procurement
Was?
process. Yeah,
okay.
And highly expedited under the Trump administration, kind of like our version of the Shahed drone.
But they didn't put out a project that I want a boat that does this, and this.
Yeah, I think that's what
they did. Okay,
that's my understanding when I was reading about it. And it's part of a family of autonomous surface vehicles.
Okay,
and I don't know if the same company is building all of them or not. Right off, I don't. My impression was that they were building all 3 or 4 varieties.
Wait a minute. It says I have no sound,
Oh, that's not good.
but I'm showing sound.
Well,
I hope Gilbert's wrong.
whoever is telling us, that I go through a whole bunch of different procedures when I can't hear the sound. Sometimes a mute button gets hit.
Yeah.
It-
Well, I've got green light though. I mean, every time I talk.
yeah, I'm talking about maybe his computer, his side.
He may not have it on because I've got listeners coming on, and then I'm showing the bars registering.
Yeah, I can see that when I
Yeah.
talk.
So it's registering on his, but that doesn't.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean the problem.
Doesn't mean
isn't
I don't
here.
have a mute button somewhere.
Right.
Uh,
These complex systems.
So if somebody's hearing, just text me. Let me know. I've got sound. 928-941-0304.
But
I don't have to go repeat everything.
I was very impressed with the capabilities of these autonomous surface vessels.
Well, Trump was annoyed by it, and he says
Annoyed?
He said
By the shoot down, or
okay. Marvin says I'm good. He has me. So it's Gilbert doesn't. So we can say anything bad about Gilbert that we want,
and he
can't
won't hear it.
He can't hear it.
I don't have anything bad to say about Gilbert.
No. Well, he said he went over to YouTube and it's working there, but it wasn't working on his Facebook for some reason. But
yeah, well, I've had problems like that where you can't hear something. You search around, try and see if there's a speaker symbol somewhere you can click on.
We all have that. But Trump's annoyed with the thing, and now he's acting a little less patient. Of course, and then he did a kinetic strike yesterday.
Yeah, there were several places, and they were sort of centered around the Gulf of Hormuz, area that I could see.
Now, he said there's going to be retaliation. They shot down one helicopter. So he hit 20 targets inside. Is that retaliation?
We have overwhelming air supremacy. I mean,
well, and I agree with it, and I saw that discussed on another show the other day where if they shoot down one helicopter, I guess they think that payback would be shoot down one of theirs if they have one.
I don't know if they
but not
have
20.
Any
no, but
anymore.
Even if they had one, is that the right thing to do? One for one. He said retaliation hit 20 targets. Now the 20 targets, do you have any idea what they were?
Mostly air defense, I think.
Correct. And the same with Israel. When they retaliated, they hit mostly air defense, and then that one factory that makes chemicals.
Yeah, petrochemical, and it produces fuel, I think.
Too. Yeah, fuel for the missiles. So, I don't know if it was General Keane or somebody hypothesized that this is the same thing they did before the original kinetic strike.
Correct.
They took out all the air defenses.
Well, right. I mean, if we're going to have air supremacy, we have to keep those air defenses inert.
And a few months ago, those air defenses were pretty much all shut down. Apparently, they've rejuvenated some, replaced some of them. Whatever they've done, they've repaired.
Absolutely.
And now they went in and targeted 20 of them. So many are suggesting that Trump's had enough, and this is in order to secure a successful all-out attack again.
It may well be. Trump has been mostly, I think, optimistic. Every time I hear him saying things,
it didn't sound that way yesterday.
It's going to be, everything's going great. We're ahead of schedule.
I know.
The talks are going good.
Even after they act stupid, he says those things.
Right. But let's see, who was it? On Tuesday TV, he made some comments about different people inside Iran claiming to speak officially and saying opposite things.
Right.
Well, I've been saying for quite a while, the regime is fractured. There's no central command there anymore.
That's been going on. But Trump may go in and take out the targets he promised that he would.
Very plausible. We have the power to do it. We have capability right there.
Well,
I mean, it's, in my viewpoint, it is just trying to figure out what are the best pressure points to apply pressure to in order to get what we want.
Well, and right now we're getting the runaround. Everybody knows it. Trump knows it. It's not a secret.
Right.
I mean, there's people out there that say, well, Trump is foolish because he doesn't, well, he's not. He understands like anybody. All his advisors are even saying, even J.D. Vance is saying, you can't believe these guys.
Well, I think everybody
Yeah,
understands
understands.
that, but it's which guy's saying what, where, and
Right.
when. I mean,
Um,
because the regime is fractured. I've been saying I hold by this. The whole point of the exercise is to have someone in some group or faction or whatever inside Iran take power who is willing to negotiate in good faith.
Well, Trump said yesterday that the Iran's military is a complete and total mess. Much of it, like their Navy and Air Force, doesn't even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is dead. They've taken too long to negotiate a deal. That would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. That's a little different language
It
than he was
is.
using up until yesterday.
Yes, it is. And but it's not what completely unexpected to me. I mean,
No.
it's the normal course of events. I've been saying the parallel to this historically is the gunboat diplomacy that Europe imposed on most of the rest of the world from about 1800 on. Well, I'd say you could make a pretty good claim that the U.S. was involved in it in the war against the Barbary pirates. And when you have a vastly superior technology, that you can do that.
So, will the Marines incorporate this into their song?
They haven't really been seriously involved yet, as far as I can tell, other than sending a bunch of people over there.
Yeah.
I mean, they did not incorporate Fallujah.
No, they
I
didn't do
mean,
that.
although they were very busy there, I think the Marine Corps hymn is going to stay the same. I don't think they're going to change it. It's a historical,
Well, I was just looking like an
reality
honorable
that's just
mention
there.
in it or something. Maybe a second
Maybe
verse.
somebody will come up with some drinking song that'll mention it, and it might become popular.
According to one reporter at Qatar, negotiators just traveled yesterday, to meet with the Iranians in an effort to bridge the remaining gaps. Of course, that's a daily story. People are traveling to bridge gaps. People are traveling to talk to them. And it's been going on for months. And the Iranians are just stall.
Yeah, I really have my, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I don't know if there's anybody in Iran who can make a deal at the point. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think there's a central command there that's in charge. I think it's fractured.
When Trump was discussing the downed pilots,
Yes.
He mentioned, it was mentioned that the Iranian drone that hit the helicopter got lodged between the two pilots. I don't know. I don't understand the mechanics. I don't know how that happens. But the drone was on fire, but did not explode as the pilots brought the helicopter down to the water. Trump said the survival of the two pilots was a miracle. I think you and I agree on that, just knowing the mechanics that we do know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it. I mean, they say it hit the tail, but got lodged between the pilots. So I
How's
guess
that happen?
Well, if it comes from the rear, it could hit the tail and then go into the fuselage.
Of course, the pilot said behind the other. The co-pilot's behind.
That's a good point.
I think it was an Apache. That's the way they set up.
Yeah, the geometry makes it a little difficult.
That's a little weird to get in there. I don't know how you get in there, but that's their
was
story, and anything's possible. We weren't there.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I have seen some very, very strange things happen, like with bullets, for example, and weird stuff. You do enough things, weird stuff happens.
And in this article, it says the president's considering wider military action against Iran as peace talks have failed to make progress. He's getting closer to targeting Iran's power plants and bridges. And Trump says, I may keep going. They had a chance to sign a deal and survive.
Yeah.
And that's, I think he's spooling up right now. I don't think I'd play with him.
Well, a ceasefire works both ways. Both parties.
This has been the weirdest ceasefire.
Well, I've read and read about quite a few ceasefires, and there's almost always violations.
Some little skirmish or something.
Yeah, something happens.
But this has been major stuff.
And there's been a fair amount of violations in this. But both sides, I think the U.S. much more than Iran has been trying to recover, recuperate, rearm, repair, to throw a little alliteration out there. But it's the U.S. has got vastly superior logistics, and we have air supremacy over the region. So it's much harder for the Iranians to repair their massively damaged military infrastructure.
Yeah. The Trump also took the time to blast the fake news a little bit, which they deserve.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think he needs to do it every day, because every day they just don't give him a break.
Oh,
I mean, they don't tell the truth. They tell half truths mostly.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the best lies have a little truth in them.
But this one was about failing to report the effectiveness of the U.S. blockade on Iran. And I think he's right. In fact, I've seen the news reports that jump onto an Iranian story that 26 ships got through, and well, Trump's failing because 26 ships got through. And I'm like, how can you even believe those guys? How can you?
Because people who have Trump derangement syndrome want to believe that he's foolish, stupid, failing, and so if somebody tells them that what they want to believe is true, they believe it.
Well, they did that right away. I mean, as soon as that report came out from Iran, of course, it was discredited like nearly immediately, but not fast enough, because the press got out with it. Like, wow,
I mean, I think
good news. Trump is failing.
Yeah, I think half our aircraft carriers have been sunk by the Iranians.
Yeah,
and
one
a
of
couple
them
of them
twice.
twice.
Yeah.
So
the poor Lincoln went down twice. That's tough to suffer like that.
There's sarcasm just for people who have poor sarcasm detectors.
The Trump says fake news media refuses to report how effective the U.S. naval blockade is. The most successful blockade in the history of naval warfare. I
think it's a very successful one.
It is, but his hyperbole is fun. Nothing gets through unless we want it to. It's a steel wall.
I think that's probably correct.
I think it's true.
The question is, how much is getting through that we want to get through?
There are some,
but there's this reluctance on the part of people with billion-dollar ships who don't want them to intercept a missile.
But the other day there was like 10 of them in a day, that snuck through. Now they turn off their location things. They go right, hug the coast of Iran, and come through.
And I, just as I was driving back from the show on Tuesday, I think it was, maybe it was Monday, I forget. Not from the show then. And I noticed that the price of gasoline at one station had dropped 20 cents. And I said, and I talked to my daughter, and she said, well, what's going on, Dad, that it dropped? Well, it appears to me that the last I saw, the price per barrel was about $92 a barrel, which is higher than it was, but lower than it has been too.
It's been watching a ping pong match, man. It's up, it's down, it's up,
right,
it's down. And believe me, as soon as somebody understands that this thing is going to end and the straits open, it's the first one down. I mean, they're going to pull it right down, but they're getting premature because it certainly hasn't been open yet.
Well, they're getting ships through. I don't know exactly what ships through, but I mean, if you have if some tankers are getting through and filling up and going out, that relieves.
Well, and Venezuela's pumping a little bit more,
right?
And we're pumping a little bit more,
right? So all of that relieves the pressure. Some people were claiming, I read this, I don't know how good these claims were, but that oil should be at $200 a barrel right now.
That was early on. They were saying that,
and it's not even. It's in the half of that range.
No. U.S. Army veteran, let me see, Jim Hansen discussed the U.S. strikes on Iran on Tuesday, saying Iran's hardliners are sabotaging a peace deal.
No, that's probably correct.
Yeah. The Iranian people should be able to remove Iran's radical leaders. And of course, and he was on a news station saying that. And that's what Trump has said and others have said.
And we had 2CTV showing video of demonstrations going on in Iranian cities, a number of them, where they weren't being killed.
But yes, ladies without their headdress on,
right,
on campuses, and a lot of that stuff going on.
And
but so far, it isn't a takeover. It's not a removal.
No, but it's, I think, significant that they weren't being dispersed and shot at and killed.
Yeah, because that would be normal.
Well, that's what you would expect for a regime that's holding on to power.
And just
But there, like I believe there is no central power structure in Iran anymore.
well, yeah, because there's a lot of cities that have been taken over, according to 2C TV, taken over by like the police have been taken over.
Yeah, and
stuff
there's
like that.
you know the border areas. There's some openly, you know, insurrection going on where
Yeah,
you know
but if
points have
this
been shot
regime
up.
gets back in power totally, there's still time to shoot these people.
Well, yes, I mean they're taking a risk, but
yeah, of course they
but
are.
by going out and demonstrating and not getting shot, they're also demonstrating something too, that the regime does not have the power to do
Right.
that
Now,
at the moment.
but they need to do more. Somebody does.
Well, I
Or
suspect more is happening,
okay.
but we just don't know about it. I mean, we have very little information that leaks out from Iran, and it's not definitive. I mean, what you see is there was an explosive in this city. Look over there. See that cloud of billowing smoke? That was
Yeah.
from that.
Well, and you
Or
see
there's a demonstration. Well,
civilians,
there's a couple thousand people in the street.
right, civilians running away with the police gear because the police had took off, left, abandoned,
All that
burned
is
down police
and
stations.
so
That's been happening,
but
it's not.
it's nothing that you could say is definitive. We don't have, somebody standing up waving the old Iranian flag in the Capitol saying,
There
we
was
are
one.
in power.
There was one.
Oh, there was.
The old Iranian flag. In fact, it was on 2Cs when I saw it. And he said, this is amazing. You could get shot for that.
Well, yeah.
That's not a flag you're allowed to wave because that's representative.
Those are like early indicators that
Yeah.
there are things happening. And frankly, it's very hard to know just what's going on. I mean, that's what intelligence services are for, to try to put together all these pieces and come up with something and get an idea.
You mean the news reports don't have it right all the time?
I don't trust them hardly at all. I went through something kind of similar to this in Panama in the late 80s, I guess. And there were all kinds of rumors always floating around all the time. More than half of them were just nonsense. But, it was slightly sort of expected that maybe the U.S. would do military action, and then bam, we had the invasion.
Yeah.
And I was gone at that time, fortunately. I mean, the house that I was living in would have been a front row seat for looking at all the military strikes going on in Panama City. And there were rumors that, Noriega had armed criminals that he had told to go kill Americans. Never happened that I understood.
But it's always a possibility.
But it's for even when you're in the middle of it, which I was, figuring out what's actually happening is very hard.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Somebody knows. You just didn't have the right context.
A lot of it is just difficult to know. And you have human assets and you use your technical assets to try to figure out what's going on.
What I remember most about that whole thing is once they got control of it, they counted the shoes that Noriega's wife had.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was in
shoes.
the Philippines with
was that the Philippines?
Marcos. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm mistaken. You're right. It was Marcos.
But yeah, the U.S. just what stuck out to me is that there was this sort of back and forth, and I think President Bush was looking for a reason, a trigger, or something like that. And I recall that Noriega at a drunken party, and he used alcohol a lot.
Oh yeah.
Made this statement on Panamanian television where he said, "We are at war with the United States," and my recollection is that our government said, well, okay, he's declared war. It's a go.
Yeah. I think it's a bad idea. Of course, there's been a lot of cases of that.
Well, Iran
has
been chanting death to America for
and we left
47 years.
Yeah. We left him alone.
Right. Which I think was a mistake. But, you look back and you can see why policymakers did what they did at certain times, and it all just cascaded, and Iran got bolder and bolder and bolder and bolder. Well, and we had the Obama and the Biden regimes Biden regime I think of as the third Obama term. And they basically just caved to the Iranians. They said, "We love you. We give you money."
Gave them literally plane loads of money,
billions of
literally,
dollars
of cash. A lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a famous picture of it.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the nuclear agreement that Obama put together was a blueprint for Iran to get nuclear weapons. So
Right. It was like, go ahead.
yeah, that's the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, it just will take a few years and Obama won't be around. He'll say, well, it was good when I was there.
Well, and I talked to an Obama supporter who was
They don't care.
Friends of my daughter.
Yeah.
And he put forward what I thought was the position. Well, Iran is the more civilized of the Islamicists. They have a way to control people, and they don't have it's not like Saudi Arabia,
Would he still say that today?
Probably.
Well, Saudi Arabia, we actually have a relationship with.
A much better relationship with. And
United
the
Arab
Crown
Emirates.
Prince in Saudi Arabia is a moderate compared to his predecessors. Right. And so it was based, in my opinion, on a false vision of reality. First off, I don't know if President Obama believed that. I mean, there's so much of what President Obama did that I would say is just designed to take America apart at the seams.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he believed that setting up Iran as a regional power over almost all of the Middle East, if he really believed that was a good idea, or if he just thought it was a good idea to destroy American power. I don't know.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Social Security for a little bit because it's important to me.
Okay.
I don't collect it yet because I'm not old. I'm old enough. I'm 68.
Well, you're plenty old enough.
I'm plenty old enough. You don't have to collect it. In fact, the longer you put it off, the more value it is. It gains 8% per year.
Well, I did the math on it.
Oh, you did the math?
Yeah, before. I mean, I've collected it.
I've done the math. What was your math tell you?
My math said it really doesn't make much difference. If you collect it earlier, you can put that money into investments.
I'm not that disciplined.
And I am. And you can put it into investments, and at the end of it, you have just as much income coming in. Plus, you got all the money that was in the investment.
I agree with that plan of action. I do. I mean, I understand it because your investments, if you're savvy enough, you're going to get more than 8%. Not a lot. I mean, 10% is great.
Even if you just break even, if let's say you wait until you're 70,
which is what I'm doing.
Think about the max you would get.
Yeah.
What you're getting is what Social Security sends you every month.
Yeah.
But if you take it early and put that excess money that you're getting from them into investments, then at the end at 70, you'll still get the income every month, but you'll have that amount that you set aside that is yours.
I think it's a good plan. I don't have any holes with it. I mean, I don't. But I put it off. And there's a break-even point. In other words, if you collect it from the age of like 62 even until 70.
Yeah, it's another way to look at it. Yeah.
You could say, okay, I collect X amount of dollars before 70. And then, but at 70, because you waited, you get a lot more money. But how long before you break even?
Well, right. And that doesn't take into account.
I can't remember.
I mean, it's a good way to look at it, but it doesn't take into account the time value of money.
Correct. Which but I'm fine now. I'm good. I don't need it right now.
No, I don't know that. Fine.
But
your choice.
But I'm looking for income after I'm 70. But the break-even point, I don't remember where it was. It was like 77, 78, something like that.
It really depends. I mean, if you're going to take it at the earliest possible point, that sounds plausible.
Well, even
to me.
Even the later points, but it's close to the same. It's mathematically about the same age that it breaks even. But I want to look at it like this. Well, some people say, well, what if you don't live that long?
Exactly.
Well, but that's my plan. I think I'd rather plan for that to live longer. And if I don't, I won't know the difference.
You know, what's a little surprising to me, I mean, it's just an attitude. There are quite a few people who just don't apply for Social Security.
I have heard that.
Even if they need the money.
OG's one of them.
Really?
My caller. Yeah, he's one.
I haven't heard from OG. Well, we're not on the radio.
I talk to him.
Oh, good.
Occasionally he's as engaged as ever. He was in Vegas. He's in Vegas right now. I think.
So I'm just curious as to what his rationale is for not.
He doesn't want
Return-
anything to do with the federal government. He doesn't have. He doesn't take Medicaid. He doesn't take insurance. He's got money.
Yeah,
he doesn't worry about it. He doesn't need it, and he doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be engaged with them.
But he's got a driver's license.
Yeah, but other than that, he
I
doesn't want to be
presume he
engaged.
probably has a bank account somewhere.
Probably got a couple of them.
Well, I mean,
You
so
know?
he's engaged.
And he's inherited oil wells and stuff, so
Yeah.
he's got some steady incomes, and he doesn't want it.
Well, that's fine.
He doesn't want it.
It's his choice.
That is. It's just odd to me, but that's okay. Trump doesn't want his check from the government. What was it, like $450,000 a year to be president?
Right. He donates it.
Yeah,
right.
he gets rid of it. He doesn't want it. Don't need it. He's just kind of like OG.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. But I want to talk about Social Security. Yeah, because and these kind of things have been said since I can remember when I started listening to news that Social Security is going to run out of money.
Well, it is.
They used to say that
based on what we see.
when I was in college in 1980. That was a big campaign thing that Jimmy Carter was going to save Social Security because it's going to run out of money. It's still going to run out of money.
Yes.
Apparently. Well, there's a 2026 trustee report that says ongoing tax revenues will only cover 78% of the scheduled retirement benefits after 2032. So by 2032, it's going to have to change, or us old guys won't get paid. Now, so I'll be collecting it by then. 2032 is not very far away.
No, it's not.
Just a
6
few
years.
Yeah, just very close. It confirms the federal return, and
That's another reason why you might want to take it early.
no, no, I don't believe it. I trust they'll find a way.
Well, they just print money. if they have to.
Exactly, one way or the other. The federal retirement safety net is less than 7 years away from financial depletion as the old age and survivors insurance. I didn't even know they called it the old age and survivors insurance. I think they should change that old age to like mature citizens.
That's a lot of trouble to get a bill through to change things.
Yeah, okay, we'll skip it then. The trust fund will be completely exhausted. Of course, the government's been stealing from the trust fund.
Yeah.
Well, when Social Security was first set up, of course, it wasn't mandatory. You could do it if you wanted to or not. You didn't have to sign up.
I'm so sure. I think they took the money out of your check.
No,
matter
not
what.
early on. It was optional. It changed pretty quickly, but it was optional at first, and then it just included retirement, and
Right.
then it started adding all kinds of stuff like survivors benefits, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's look at all that. It's like the politicians sit around saying, "Look at all that money that's accumulating.
Oh yeah.
We got people in need. We can give it away."
Yes.
And they did. And then what they didn't give away, they took.
yes.
And they gave an IOU. In other words,
Exactly.
they call it an investment. They call it like, well, we're investing your money.
Yeah, but
so it earns
it's
interest.
Not really.
But you know where they invested? They invested only in one item. And that's the United States bonds,
Yeah, national debt.
national debt. And it gets like a remarkably small interest.
Right.
Remarkably small. It doesn't get the interest you're going to pay for your mortgage or anything. It gets very small, like what you'd get on a checking account.
I haven't been a fan
No.
of Social Security, which I have in jest called socialist insecurity. But I've become more of a fan the older I've gotten. Not so much because of the money I get from Social Security,
Yeah.
but because I see lots of people who just do not plan for their future.
At all.
Yeah, they just don't.
Yeah.
And Social Security is kind of like a forced retirement plan.
It is.
Yeah, and it's to ensure that when you become
got
old,
something,
you've got some income.
But there's a lot of people that do private business and they don't claim income and they don't get much Social Security. They retire with nothing, and they get $500, $1,000 a month.
Well,
And
it's a lot better than nothing.
it's a lot better than nothing, and you can move in with your kids and at least have a little bit of cash.
I've become more and more aware the older I got that there are a lot of people who simply do not plan for the future.
They don't.
And some of them just say, I'm never going to live beyond 45 anyway.
Yeah, there's always that.
There's a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a good friend who said, and he died recently. And he said, I never thought I'd make 50. and he, he was like 63 when he died.
Well, once the reserves dry up, the tax revenue is only going to cover 78%. So there'll still be tax revenues coming in because they spend the money coming in on the current bills versus savings paying for it. In other words, it's not your money that was saved and you're getting dividends from. Your money was spent years ago for everybody else.
Right.
And there's not enough new people to
Right.
cover the big mass of like the baby boomers and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a very poorly designed system. Well, it was designed better.
Oh, it's designed
at the
great
time
till
because most people didn't live to 65, only about half did. And so, your expenditures were supposed to be much less. It was a very popular system.
One of the worst things is that the politicians saw there was money and they started spending.
Sure, they just started raiding it.
Yeah, they raided it.
And they've done that pretty successfully. There's, as you mentioned, there's really nothing in the trust fund but IOUs.
Yeah.
Now, if they'd put that money into something like the stock market.
Oh, had we invested our own money, the money that they took out of your paycheck every year,
right,
your retirement would be much wealthier.
I have heard there'd be 2 to 3 times as much.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard the same. And there's some places that have done that. I guess there's been people that some organizations that were exempt for some reason.
At the beginning, you could opt out, and there were some school systems that did it, and some others.
I think it was a state or something, or counties or something that did it, and
right,
and they get 2 to 3 times.
That's what I
because
hear.
that money didn't get raided.
Right,
it just got invested.
Well, and it's invested into private equities and different things
that actually earn money.
Create wealth. And you could make a point that money invested into the government produces something, because if you have no government and have anarchy, businesses can't really exist very long.
Well, that's true. But the system is actually now more of a redistribution of wealth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To make sure we take care of the people that didn't take care of themselves, and you're going to pay for it.
I think one of the things that'll probably happen is there'll be some kind of a means test put on Social Security, so that if you are well off, you won't get as much.
Oh, yeah.
It's already, sort of leveraged that way.
Like if you have OG money, you don't need it, so you're not going to get it.
Well, that's the kind of thing that I might see.
That's a Marxist thing to say. You don't need it.
Well, already, if you have low income for most of your life, you get a much higher percentage return than if you have high income.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, very clear. Because at the minimal level, you get a certain amount. You can't go below a certain amount.
Yeah.
And then, but if you reach up to the maximum level,
there's
the amount of money you put in, you get a much lower rate of return.
Yeah. It used to be when I first started in business, I remember when I was first working, November, December, I'd start getting bigger checks because they wouldn't be taken out Social Security. I'd reach the maximum deduction.
Yeah.
And maximum deduction back, I mean, it was like 15,000, 16,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that.
Now it's more like 200,000 or something.
It's higher, much higher.
Much higher.
But yeah, near the end of my career, I was maxing out too.
Yeah. Yeah, you start maxing out because it got high. Well, back in the 70s, it wasn't that high. The One Big Beautiful Bill adds temporary additional standard deductions for taxpayers over 65. As a result, less income tax will be paid on Social Security benefits because of tax breaks.
Right.
And they're saying that's going to accelerate us running out of money. Well,
but if the economy is doing better, that's an offset to that.
More people in it.
Right.
And then more people paying. But the Congressional Budget Office warned that the fund's insolvent date, because the government would not have the legal authority to make payments in excess of receipts. It will no longer be able to pay the full amount scheduled under the projected current law. Now, Congress will step in somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of voters that Social Security, which I count on. I count on the voters to do that. Something else that was mentioned is there is so much fraud.
I've heard this.
That it is draining the Social Security system. There's so much fraud. And now JD Vance is working on that.
I have heard a claim, and it does not sound impossible, that if we would fix the fraud that is draining government funds, not just Social Security, but everything.
Oh, Medicaid is part of it, and we pay into that.
Yes.
Medicare.
And that and all the federal programs that that are transfer funds, that if we would fix those, we would balance the budget.
That's
an amazing thing if true.
if it's true. But you got to remember, you got Congress in there that says, well, we got more money coming in, spend it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we could do
absolutely.
so many wonderful things for people. We could give them so many wonderful
We
things.
can buy so many votes.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Maybe maybe the LA system works in a sense that you don't have to expend very much money for votes. I mean, if you only got to pay $4 a vote, that's cheap compared to what we spend in fraud.
Mike Johnson was on doing
I
an
like
interview.
Mike.
I do too. He's done much better than I expected.
Yeah.
The reason we're in trouble is because over 74% of federal spending is on autopilot, mandatory spending.
Right.
And that's your entitlement programs like Medicaid, Medicare, and things like Social Security. They will have to be adjusted and fixed. I don't know what he's talking about, but because
I thought you did.
I know what he's talking about. Well, you can't fix my Social Security. I mean, I have a promise that I've made my investment and I get a certain amount. What do you mean fix it?
Well, there's a lot of ways that it can be fixed. People have talked about this, and we did adjustments. I think Reagan managed to get some adjustments through.
Yeah, they've all done.
They
something.
increased the age of retirement.
Yeah,
gradually phased it in. I was one of the last ones. I think that could. I think I had to wait an extra month or two.
I was for me it was 66 and a half to get full.
Yeah, it used to be 65.
It used to be 65, and of course I didn't take it, but it
right, and whatever. I mean, that's an individual decision.
Yeah.
And so there will be something like that will happen. The way that the Trump administration is trying to head off disaster is to just grow the economy so much that it's not as big a problem.
Not a bad plan.
It's probably the only workable plan we have. And frankly, it looks to me like it has a chance. I mean, I wouldn't say it's absolutely sure of working, but it's
if we don't
has
have
a
the
chance.
Democrats scuttle the whole thing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. Mike Johnson says we have a plan to do that next year, and it's critical because we're 40 trillion plus in debt. At some point, you get into a hole so deep you can't climb out of it. So desperate times call for desperate measures. And see, that stuff does make me nervous. Like, what are you going to give me like half of what I was supposed to get or something? What?
The plans that I have seen mean that you don't get big increases every year.
You mean cost of living adjustments?
Well, cost of living is
based on
inflation. It's the idea. I've seen plans, and they were a while back, that if you cut the budget by, this was about 10 years ago, if you cut the budget by 1% in every department, you balance the budget in a few years, because that means you don't increase it by 2 or 3% every year, and then you cut it by 1%.
And that's very doable, but I don't think things like Social Security you can do that. But
well, that would have to be part of the whole thing. I don't have a problem. Personally, if you had to cut my Social Security by 10 or 20% in order to save the United States, I'm all for it.
I think we should do U20 so I don't have to cut any.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have a big problem with that. But because I live modestly, and I could. Well, let's see. I have enough. I've been frugal enough that if you took Social Security away from me, I wouldn't like it, but I'd survive.
Yeah, you don't have the kind of cars at the Leering Center people bought.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't see a Rolls Royce or
forward
Porsche.
To maybe getting a Tesla in a couple years so that I have an automated chauffeur.
But that's a reasonable investment.
Well, for me it would be, because a chauffeur would cost you $100,000 more than. Yeah. I mean, if you paid people to provide you 24/7 chauffeur service, you'd have to pay 5 people continuously. So that's probably $500,000 a year.
You could pay me but I'll sleep when you sleep. I don't care. No.
But, basically an autonomous vehicle is like having a 24/7 chauffeur service.
Yeah. Well, when Ray Jensen lived here, he ran Onward Parks Exchange, APE. He had a private plane and a private pilot, but that guy was on call 24/7. So if he got a middle of the night and wanted to go somewhere, he didn't have to have 2 pilots. Les said, we're ready.
Well, I guess.
He kept the plane ready all the time.
Right.
The only thing he had to do is get a little notice, because the plane had to take off with food on board.
Okay. Well, also, you got to give the pilot a chance to get dressed.
Right. But he would be to have last minute things that says, hey, I made a luncheon date in Nevada. I need to get there. by lunch, he'd have the plane ready and ready to go.
You have to pay for that kind of service.
Of course, I don't know what he made, but he was the only pilot. He was the only guy.
Well,
But he was always on call. He didn't have much of a social life, I don't think.
I probably not.
But there were times the plane doesn't move for weeks.
Sure. I don't know exactly. I mean, if I were a pilot, I mean, they'd have to pay me quite a bit to do that kind of service.
But Les didn't drink.
Probably less, and that service was probably less than having 5 pilots, working 40-hour weeks.
Right. But he did well, and he was always on. He took care of the plane all the time. Always, in there, making sure maintenance was done.
Right.
Making sure everything was clean, everything was checked out.
And there's ways.
Flying it is just one part of the job.
Sure. But what I'm saying is that the pilot in that circumstance where he doesn't fly for weeks at a time, but he has to always be available. I mean, he still can have a social life. He just invites the people to where he is.
Right. He's got to be close by usually, unless he makes arrangements, I guess.
Well, there might be a clause in the contract.
And I'm sure there was a backup if they needed it somewhere. He could make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, what if he gets in a car accident?
Well, we just let him go and get a new pilot.
But it's going to take a while.
Oh yeah.
It would be better to have a backup.
I don't know how hard it would be to find a guy like Les. I imagine it wouldn't be too bad. A corporate pilot should be pretty good.
Pay a sufficient remuneration, you will find people who are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Pilots tend to be kind of adventuresome sorts.
Yeah.
And so I would think probably quite a few pilots, especially if they were single, would maybe even better if they're married. I don't know. Would say, I could like that. That could work out for me.
And Les enjoyed flying and he enjoyed going places. So that was the right attitude for that job.
Some people who do very well in business usually are very good math skills, and they could look at that and say, which is cheaper, 5 pilots that I pay for 40-hour weeks or 1 pilot that I pay double to be available all the time?
Yeah. Sometimes Ray would ask me to go do something for him and take the plane, and it would just be me and Les. Of course, I would sit up front and fly at that.
Oh.
I didn't sit in the back. He'd let me fly it. And of course, then he would do things with the plane to show me what it could really do.
So did you get hours? I mean,
I nothing logged.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
No, I didn't log any hours. I mean, it's not a plane I'm even qualified for.
Oh, okay. But yeah, that's pretty common. I, talk to people who are pilots, and they often talk about taking controls of a aircraft for a short while. I mean, heck, I even took controls of a helicopter once in Australia for a few minutes. I was just straight and level flight. So,
that's a whole different deal.
I wouldn't, as somebody who was a real helicopter pilot told me afterwards, you weren't flying that helicopter. No. You were just driving it.
That's exactly right. Well, and I used to let my kids fly my plane, but they're just holding on to the wheel more. Anyway.
Well, right. I mean, you've already got it in straight and level flight. Don't change anything fast.
It's already trued out and everything.
It trims on it.
Yeah, and all that. But my daughter was the only exception. I would let her take the things. She'd be having fun and all that. And as soon as I looked out a window, she'd try to turn the plane upside down.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But that was her. That was the Casey monster. And she just laughed because I get control. But I knew she was going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're ready.
Oh, always. And you're not going to turn a Cessna upside down that quickly.
Yeah. I mean, you want to be at enough altitude you can recover.
Oh yeah. Well, I was altitude before I ever gave her the controls.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. I didn't let her take off.
No, or land, or even operate the plane below 5,000 feet, probably.
But Casey would go hard left or something, just boom, and just make that plane. She just wanted to flip it over, and then just laugh and laugh and laugh. She knew her daddy would save her.
Yeah, a lot of trust there.
Yeah.
Well, she probably, I don't know how old she was.
Oh man, grade school at the time.
Yeah.
Just
at that age, some children. I mean, some people learn by experience, but my experience is if you're below 10 years old, you don't really understand how easy it is to get hurt.
Well. We were in no danger. I mean,
I understand that. I'm just saying I look at my grandkids and, I'm not even sure they really understand how important it is to stay away from the front of moving cars.
They don't. They don't. My son showed little to no interest in flying.
That's interesting.
Little to, I mean, he would take the controls, and I was a little more teaching him some of the navigation stuff, and I would say, "You're a couple degrees off your hitting." No, I'm not.
Well, considering your son's career is kind of interesting.
Well, and yeah, he ended up being in the Air Force, but he's not a pilot because he's colorblind.
Okay.
Colorblind. In fact, colorblind will exempt you from being in the Air Force Academy.
Oh, well,
But-
so he had to get an exemption for that.
No, we just didn't know he was colorblind. But there's a
Ah.
test for it before you go in. So we took the test to the optometrist, Tom, here locally, and he didn't know what he didn't really have a red green test, which is what one of the tests, red green.
Right.
So he just held up a green sheet of paper and a red one and said, pick out the red one or something. And he did. And he said, okay, you pass.
50-50 chance.
You won. You win. Now he
Whoa.
he found out he was colorblind in his second year at the academy when they did a real test on him. They said, wait a minute, you're colorblind. He said,
Said,
what do
I
you mean?
am?
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things where you get a bunch of dots in
Yeah,
and you look and you say, can you see a number? We could never see the number.
Sure.
And
Yeah, I've taken those tests.
but they
there's
said
degrees of color blindness too.
correct. But they told him that well, you shouldn't even be here. But you're already in. So here you are.
Wow. So he may be one of the very,
One of the
very,
very few,
very
anyway.
few Air Force officers who is colorblind.
Correct. Well, he's not a pilot.
Well, right. So it's not as important.
And you don't send him on maintenance to go cut the red wire.
Well, and
He's on the
he
bomb
has
squad,
to be sure he has the sequence of colors in stoplights memorized.
Well, it's a positioning.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, he's colorblind and an officer in the Air Force. Makes sense. Let's see. Mike Johnson said following the third quarter 2034, following a combined depletion of 2034, 83% of the scheduled benefits will be funded by ongoing payroll collections. The trustees recommended that lawmakers address the projected trust fund shortfalls in a timely way to phase in necessary changes gradually and give workers and beneficiaries time to adjust. Implementation changes sooner rather than later. And we go through this a lot. I mean, we went through it with Carter. We went through it with others.
I
We said
think
we need to make
Reagan-
adjustments, and we need to.
I think Reagan managed to get bills passed.
But this is why people panic and they say, well, I better get it now because I don't want money to run out. And I've heard that before.
It's you're right. I mean,
They do.
and for a lot of people, it's very, very important. I mean,
Social Security?
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of it, that's all they have.
people, that's what they have, and I find that kind of.
And sometimes
bad.
it's relatively small. Not a lot of, I mean,
Oh yeah, very common.
Some people make a lot of money off the books that's not included, that doesn't have any Social Security taken out of it,
Right.
and
There's a lot of reasons. Some people just don't make a lot of money in their life,
Yeah.
So you can end up in dire straits. I had an acquaintance. I'll just tell a story. Who inherited a house from his father.
Yeah.
And he had a business. He was making some money. I mean, it had because of all the turmoil in our economy. Eventually, his business went bust because the economy just changed. But before that, he just wouldn't pay taxes on his house
okay.
for many years.
And he lost
And
it.
finally, they foreclosed on it and
They
lost
took it.
And I asked him. I don't know. I don't remember if I actually asked him, but I was like, my thought was, did you think that could go on forever? That you could just not pay taxes and they'd never do anything to you? I guess he did.
Didn't think about it.
And he lost his house, and basically he didn't have a job because he had a little business of his own.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he's on the street somewhere. I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
could
it was
be.
really sad.
It happens. Mike writes, the dwindling of Social Security funds, I think, is related to the hiatus of manufacturing jobs. Well, true.
There's some truth.
There's going to be some of that effect because it went overseas, steel industry, textiles industries,
Sure.
automobile industries. And so once manufacturing returns to USA, more jobs will increase level. And that's true too. And the jobs are coming back. Of course, right now there's plans and buildings being built, and we haven't had the influx of the employees yet. Although if you look at our jobs created we're always beating expectations right now.
We are doing fairly well that way. And the idea, you know, I'm a Elon Musk fan because I think he's the genius of our age. And, you know, he's saying, well, look, with AI and the space X and all the incredible increases in productivity we're having, robotics, for example. I mean, he says, you don't have to worry. Things will be so productive in the future that everybody will be well off, whether you work or not.
Yeah.
I'm not so optimistic myself. I think the ability of mankind to mess up is very high.
It is. I want to talk about some of the voting going on. You and I talked a little bit off air about it.
Yeah.
We know that Plattner just won, which was not a surprise.
Well, he was ahead, but I was surprised at the number you told me.
73%.
73%?
Well, that's Democrat. It was a primary.
It's a Democrat primary.
Yeah, Democrat primary.
He did have opposition, didn't he?
Yeah.
But probably not very strong
Well,
opposition.
one was a former governor that was popular. But
Wow.
she dropped out.
Oh, she dropped out.
Well, she suspended
Okay.
her campaign. But then about a couple of weeks ago, she reminded everybody, I'm still on the ticket. Because Plattner was getting a lot of negative press. And he was getting a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so you know, I'm here. You know, choose me.
Now, Plattner's one of the more outrageous as far as his background, as far as his background and the things he said, the things he's accused of. I mean, 20 years ago, he wouldn't have made it to anything. I mean, he would have been laughed out.
Well, I was reading an article about how he ended up here, and it wasn't as if, you know, he was up and coming candidate. He was groomed for the position.
Was he?
He was basically created. His oyster farm or whatever,
which is
is on an island that is owned by a billionaire, and the billionaire supports his campaign.
Right.
This is what I read. So, and I could be wrong. I could make mistakes.
His oyster farming is kind of a hobby thing, I guess. And he sells it to his parents or something.
Well, all of it goes to I think this billionaire's company or whatever.
Yeah,
so it's
just kind of a hobby.
It doesn't look like he has much.
Well, didn't he have something to do with
gainful employment,
finance or something at one time?
I don't know.
But he's a former military guy with a Nazi tattoo. And he has nothing good to say about the military. He trashes them.
I find that just odd, you know, that he's a veteran and yet he's just completely.
But he's so angry.
Negative.
Wants to impeach Trump. Wants to go after Trump. Put people in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as radical as I mean, he makes AOC look like a moderate.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what the Democrats in Maine found attractive.
Maybe.
I mean, it doesn't attract me.
But
I mean, to an extent, I would say that Trump is radical too, but I think he's radical in a very positive way.
Yeah, he's radical in wanting to help the country.
Right.
And not necessarily, and that is radical because most politicians will look at, well, I'm going to save the country, but I got to take care of to make sure I get reelected to do so. So I'll go along with all the other gamemen.
Yeah, that is part of the what got us into the situation we're in.
Right. Most politicians' first job get reelected, and
so
they take care of whoever's giving them the money and all that kind of stuff, and we get ourselves in trouble.
Well, and like I say, the first job
Trump
of a bureaucrat is to keep the bureaucracy going.
Yet he gets accused of it. Trump gets accused of it. Like this fight that he's having, and I say fight, the UFC fight that's going to be taking place at the White House lawn. You know, that's been scheduled for months. It's been on the books for months. He's being sued right now. And part of that sue, the thing says he's personally profiting from this. Well, how could you say that? He doesn't take his income. He's not in control of anything. His name's not on it. It's Dana White's name. You know, he's the one that's putting it on, and he's not charging for it. And they say, well, it's outrageous that people are making money on using the property of the White House. Well, nobody's paying for tickets. People are making money, yeah, but like the Easter egg hunt, people made money because you had to hire people to come in and do stuff.
Sure.
Wait, now you have to hire people to come in and do stuff. Well, that's making money, and you can't do it if you're Trump. And this is too big. You know, it's too grandiose, I guess.
It's Trump. Trump is in favor of it, so we're against it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. It's just like we have to come up with some reason to be against it.
How many times do we have parties on that lawn where you have to hire people to come in and put up tents? You have to hire people to come in and sing. You have to hire people to come in and wait tables. Somebody's making money.
Right. There's always somebody making money. I mean,
okay. Did Obama make money on all those parties he held?
well,
I have no idea.
He left office very wealthy.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Trump actually left office with less money than he started.
Yes.
But then he made a lot when he did True Social. He like doubled his net worth.
Well, he's a very good businessman.
Made billions of dollars on that. But the whole thing is ridiculous. But he's got to fight these things constantly. You find judges to take. You find, and I heard some commentators. You know, some people with background in legal background say they don't believe there's any judge, even a liberal judge, whatever, that's going to look at this and not throw it out.
I think that's correct.
That's probably true. Because it was set up ahead of time. It was permitted ahead of time. Apparently, though, they didn't have to do I mean, they're saying, well, he should have done an environmental study on the erection of the thing on the grounds. It had to have an environmental study, which, of course, those could take years.
Yeah, I saw all this radical environmentalism come into the country.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm old enough to when it was passed. And I remember I was in, let's see, I think it was in grad school. So that's about 40, 50 years ago, 45 years ago, something like that. And I saw that somebody who wanted to build a mall at the time that was on the outskirts of not a medium-sized city, and they had to do an environmental protection study on the effect that building the mall would have on the downtown of the city. And I went, this is nuts.
How long would that take?
Well, and what, this is an environmental effect?
Yeah.
I mean, by that definition, everything is covered by the Environmental Protection Agency.
It just becomes
everything requires a study. And I thought, that's crazy.
It becomes a hammer for whoever doesn't want the project to go forward for whatever
Exactly.
reason. That's all.
I mean, it's a form of tyranny because there's no rule of law anymore. You just have to do, you must do this, and we'll decide if what you did makes any sense or whether we'll allow it.
When I worked within a Napa system, I had a store owner in California that bought some property because he was going to expand. He's going to build another store. He was going to build and expand. So he bought a piece of property inside the city that was a good retail location. And environmentalists wouldn't let him build because they found that they had some kind of shrimp on that if it ever flooded, they would come to life. And you couldn't.
But it was surrounded by other buildings.
Yeah, it was surrounded by the buildings, and it was in town. It was zoned as commercial, and they found this brine shrimp of some kind that I guess can lay dormant for years, and then when it floods, they can come alive and spawn and come back. And they said because of that shrimp, you can't build there, and they were charging him taxes based on the value of that property for having a building on it.
Right. But
they said, well, take away my taxes. Well, no, that's what the property's worth.
But I can't use it.
But you can't
build on it.
Well, that's not a problem. That's your
we're
problem.
not going to consider that.
Then you shouldn't have bought it. Oh, he never did build.
Yeah.
It never did build. Yeah. And that's just the ridiculousness that goes on with that.
And there's getting to be pushback now. There's been some Supreme Court decisions basically saying, no, the Environmental Protection Action Agency does not control everything.
But
and
first,
I'm exaggerating a little.
But first, it's got to get so bad that it gets up there, and it's been getting bad for a long time.
Well, I think there's pushback.
Yeah, and it becomes a political hammer.
Exactly, because it's indeterminate. You can't know whether or not you're going to be able to do anything with a piece of property until you do one of these studies. And which costs a lot of money.
And who would have thought to do an environmental study downtown on a piece of property that's in a commercial area?
Would be simple, right?
Yeah, it would be simple. But Obama used it a lot. Biden used it a lot. I mean, and look, Newsom's used it a lot to shut down industries he says are bad for the environment. I mean, we've decided that energy is bad, so we're not going to let you drill. We're not going to let you produce gas. And he's chased them all out of town, much to the detriment of California.
Oh, yeah.
Which very rich resources.
It's one of the reasons they have very high gas prices.
Right. And they keep electing people like that in California.
Well, there's the education system and the media in California are very much controlled by people sympathetic to the Democrats.
And they believe it. And I was told, and David Hansen was talking about this the other day. He said the people that he's known that were solid conservatives, solid business people, they've moved. There's no one to fight them.
They just left.
They
because
left.
The abuse was so bad. And at the same time, they have allowed, encouraged, brought in millions and millions of illegal immigrants.
And they're very socialistic and very much give me something. You said you had something, give it to me.
And, partly that and partly just, we're getting government benefits. We want to keep the government we got.
And they have a two-tier system of justice in that Hansen, particularly, has pointed out that on his property, if he puts his trash can out on the curb and it's not retracted in time, he'll get a fine or something like that. And yet down the street, the illegals are dumping sewage, doing whatever they want, and they won't do a thing about it.
Yeah, I had a little bit of personal experience with that, in that I had a relationship with a woman, and her mother had property, and there was a thin strip like 30 feet wide next to her property that was not allowed to be zoned for building because it was too small, too close to property lines and stuff. Well, all of a sudden, somebody puts in a series of buildings there and rents them out, and she goes to the zoning people. How can you do this? Oh, it was approved, exception or whatever. So, well, wait a minute, I never got involved in it. I thought very reasonably that somebody had been paid off.
Sure.
And it drastically reduced the value of her property.
Of course. Yeah, you got to be active, stay in.
Well, and you had better have enough pull in California to. I don't know if there would have been a bidding war or not. I want you to enforce the zoning. Oh, I want you to allow me to build there.
I'll tell you. I'm off subject where I wanted to talk about, but this is interesting. I was helping some people down in San Luis recently. One of the favorite politicians down there that's done a lot of great things. He bought a big chunk of property that was adjacent to the housing development, and wanted to put in some 2- and 2-story apartments, low income and stuff that would crowd that area out and look down on all their backyards.
Okay.
And he's it was Tony Rivas. He's this county supervisor, and he's built a lot of time. He's done great things. Don't get me wrong. I like Tony.
Okay.
I like him. But he wanted to strong arm that thing in there, and the residents didn't want it at all. Of course, it would ruin their property value. It was not what it was designed for, and it wasn't even zoned. They were trying to change the zoning to make it, because it was zoned something else,
They're trying.
And they fought it, and they called and asked me for advice. And I sat down and helped them and all. And so far they've won that thing against all odds. And not that it's over, because he's going to continue to fight.
Sure.
Somehow, because he paid too much for the property.
Well, I am not a big fan of zoning, because I think it's where local power elites exert a lot of power to their advantage.
But it makes sense to have zoning that's properly done. So that you don't have a pig farm next to a housing development.
My thought is that zoning should be restricted to like properties that are under 5 acres or something like that.
Okay.
And frankly, we do have exceptions to zoning in Arizona by state statute. And if it's zoned agricultural, you can do almost anything on it. Yeah. And if it's zoned for mining, you can do almost anything on it.
But if you have the right political pull, you've got better opportunity to get the zoning you want.
Absolutely.
That doesn't make sense.
I agree with that 100%.
And Tony knew that, and he could have done it if it weren't for that strong neighbors. They were strong.
Yeah.
They held together. They were reasonable, and that was part of my helping them with, like, look, don't go down there screaming and yelling. Be reasonable.
Yeah.
And don't talk about anything but the subject matter.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true.
You know, and I sat down and helped them with that to make sure that they stayed, because you got to convince city council.
And you're right.
And if you go in there screaming and yelling and calling people names,
you get an adverse reaction.
You're not going to get the
It's
you're not
not
going to get
gonna
the
help.
results you think you want.
Right.
You go in there and talk like, I'm a family. I raised my kids here. I want to stay here, and I don't want people to look down on my backyard.
And there are places in the U.S. that have virtually no zoning.
Yeah.
Parts of Alaska, Oklahoma, Missouri, you know, and that have almost virtually no zoning. Once you get outside the cities, anyway. And there even used to be Houston used to have no zoning up until about 10 years ago, I think.
But it can be a problem to not have any zoning.
Well, I mean,
People build up to the blind.
we did. Zoning is a fairly late comer to the United States. I think there was a case before the Supreme Court, roughly around 1910 or so. I don't even know if it went all the way to the Supreme Court. I think it might have been appeals court. And on a 3-judge panel, one of the judges, 2 judges said, yeah, it's okay. And the third one said, you're going to regret this.
That's right.
So it's not, there's been sorts of forms of zoning inside cities for a long time, but extended over most of the rural areas, 100 years old or so. I mean, we didn't have zoning here in Yuma County until I think 1976.
They still don't have it in Martinez Lake. Well, they do. But if you go down, and when I was on the board, I spent a lot of time down Martinez because I was just fascinated with the lack of zoning. You know, that they didn't follow any zoning. In other words, you get property down there, you ask for exemptions on everything. Like I could build up to the property line. You know, and do things that zoning doesn't allow. And they always get it because everybody in Martinez Lake is outside zoning,
and they want it to stay that way.
And it's, well, all my neighbors do it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And
then they ask the neighbor and say, sure, I do it. Why shouldn't he?
I mean, Martinez Lake is wildcat. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I love them and I love the attitude down there. It's kind of like the Conch Republic, you know, Key West, if you know about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different area, but they do things down there that we couldn't do in Yuma.
Right.
It wouldn't be passed. You can't do it. And zoning requires, you know, zoning keeps like let's say you're next door to a restaurant and they put in a trash dumpster. Well, that trash dumpster has a zoning regulation. It can only be so close to the fence. It's got to be covered. It's got to be all that. If you don't have zoning, they can put it right next to your property and keep the lids open.
I have, like I said, I know there are places in the U.S. that still don't have zoning.
Yeah.
And there was a very large city, Houston, for a long time, did not have zoning. It seemed to work out pretty fine. It all depends, I think, on many factors. And the more crowded you get, the more you need some kind of regulation.
Yeah. And particularly for fire and stuff like that.
Sure.
Because you start building all these things close together, like in Martinez Lake, where the property lines, I mean, they just go right up.
And I don't know if they had any zoning in Chicago in the late 1800s when they had the big fire.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That's how you learn lessons, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one cow kicks over a lantern, man. It takes out the whole city. And that's the rumor of Chicago. I don't know if that's ever been proved. The cow.
I don't know if it was,
but you know about the story.
I know there was also an enormous fire in northern Wisconsin at the time. The Peshtigo fire happened just about the same time as the Chicago fire. And it was one of the most horrific, catastrophic fires in the history of the nation. But because the Chicago fire happened about the same time, it didn't get near as much news coverage. and so it kind of, you can read about it. It's in the history books. And I think there were dozens, maybe 100 of people killed in the Peshtigo fire.
All right. I want to talk about some of the primaries that's just gone on. We talked about Plattner, but you know, he's not Plattner. Which one is it in Maine?
Yeah, it sounds kind of the same.
Okay. I know there's a couple of them, but he won 73%. He's the Nazi and all that kind of stuff.
Plattner,
we'll see. Susie Lee, a Democrat out of Nevada, just won her primary against some, you know, three people coming after her. Now, Susie Lee's known as in fact, she's listed, but Georgetown University Lugar Center deems her one of the 10 most bipartisan members of Congress. Now, she just ran against 3 people that were not bipartisan.
Okay.
James Lally said was talking about, I say, Terrell is running for Congress because he believes Washington has stopped working for ordinary Americans. He believes deeply concerned about the growing influence of corporate money, political self-interest, erodes transparency. That's not too bad. But I've always been someone who learns by not being and watching from the outside. My background takes me through different environments, different perspectives. But all these people were pretty much anti-Trump and more radical.
Well, how do you get elected without being anti-Trump if you're a Democrat?
I don't know.
So is Susie Lee not anti-Trump?
No, she hasn't been until she started. I mean, she's been voted as bipartisan, and now that she was running, she had to go on a rant about Trump. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the credibility to run.
Well, that sounds plausible
But what is it-
because almost all of the official left seems to be, their main reason for being is to be anti-Trump.
Well, Lee was in hot water. She put out on X, which she's now deleted, that Trump, when Trump, President Trump suggested he would attend oral arguments at the birthright citizenship in the Supreme Court case. He said, so blanked up, I'll pray they blanking him into his face. I don't know this stuff. Can't even say it. But she got crazy and she won. She pushed back on allegations she was mentally deranged, psycho, but I think it made her win.
Well, is this for her seat in the House?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a representative incumbent.
Right, and she's an incumbent. They have a big advantage normally.
And she won the primary. Well, I think she had to step it up, though.
Well, the other part is you said there were 3 opponents that were all more or less rather anti-Trump. So maybe they split the vote between them. What did she win with? How much of a percentage?
I don't have that, but I just know she won again and goes on the rant. But I think Democrats somehow are looking for that.
Well, I agree. That's what we see. It appears to be how you win in a Democratic primary, as you position yourself as a very radical anti-Trump person.
Yeah. So it didn't hurt her. And it was a time that would have.
I'm not so sure. I mean, Trump has only been in politics since 2016.
Right. Well, I mean, in general, I think it's less polite now. It's more aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. I think that has happened.
Yeah. And they blame Trump for it.
Well,
but it's not him that's doing it. It's them.
It's not.
They say it's his fault because he makes us want to hate him.
Yeah. Well, I think there is that, but I think people have woken up to how badly governed we have been for a lot of the last years. Right. And that's one of the major draws for Trump is that he is not establishment. He is very clearly and vocally not establishment, although they're becoming the Trumpian establishment. But the Trumpian establishment does things like create a procurement system in the Navy so they get an autonomous vehicle in 6 months instead of 16 years.
Oh, right. And shortly after the Kinetic War started in Iran, and they realized they didn't want to use $1 million missile to shoot down a $30,000 drone, they were able to procure a drone system that was existing in Ukraine within a few weeks that they never had.
And they're producing it, at least this is what it says in the stories, at a lower price than the original drone was being produced in Iran.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Ukrainian ones. I'm sorry, the Ukrainians.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking
the Hunters. You're talking about the actual.
We had the Shahed
drones.
Our version of the Shahed drone, where the Russians make their version of the Iranian drone,
and we make it now.
And the Hunter drones you're referring to, I think, were made to intercept and destroy the Shahed drones.
Correct.
So there are a lot of drones in there.
We bought those too, and we put them on the ships so that they, we'd see those Shaheds coming, and we just turn loose a drone worth about the same value.
I think that the Hunter drones are cheaper. The story I read said that these Hunter drones only cost about $1,000.
Some of them,
and the Shaheds are running about $35,000.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty good trade-off. If you can one or two of the Hunter drones, and take down a Shahed, economics are in your favor.
In fact, the Ukrainians put them on a 70-year-old turbocharged airplane and flies them around
Right.
and releases them in the air
Right
next to them,
take out
drones.
and
they've been very successful.
And they've been pretty successful. The other thing I saw, I cannot say if it's real or not, but it's plausible that one of the aircraft carriers, and I forget which one, had a tactical laser installed on its deck, which they said all they had to do was bolt it down to the deck and drill a hole so that electric power could get to it.
Yeah.
And that it was successful in shooting down a fair number of Shahed type drones.
They didn't really talk about that openly at first, because
well, and it's you don't want your opposition to know what your specifications are, and they put very specific specifications of what it could do in this YouTube video I watched, and it immediately made me suspicious.
And
because you don't want that information to be out there.
And that came in a container. It looked like a container on a cargo ship.
Yeah, right.
And they just bolt it down, hook it up. But not a lot of ships can take it. They don't have the power for it.
Yeah, that was one of the big things. Is nuclear-powered aircraft carrier
could take them,
and so they had plenty of power available, and they talked about that.
They'd stick a few of them on there. But yeah, these Alex Bird, destroyers, they don't have the room really or the power because they don't have nuclear.
They probably have some power. I mean,
they don't have the power for that.
Probably not to run it continuously,
No.
But if you got a nuclear power structure inside your ship, you got quite a bit of power available.
They took that. I think it was it the Zoom Walt, the one they only made 3 of that was supposed to be a stealth that they scrapped. They were going to make a bunch of them. They found out.
Yeah, littoral ships. Were they called?
Yeah. I think they put some on those. They found out that they had
maybe so.
They had the power because they had a ton of power.
It's very difficult to keep up with everything.
Well, yeah,
changing very fast.
Yeah, they built a ship and then they realized they don't like it. It's too expensive to run, and the ammo on it was too expensive. So they built 3 of them, and they're there. They don't know what to do with them, and all of a sudden they found a use.
Well, that's good. Somebody was thinking hard and came up with something positive. One of the things I noted when I was reading the story about the autonomous surface vessel that rescued the pilots was when they talked about the procurement system, they said, we have a fair number of subsurface autonomous vehicles that we can't talk about.
I've known they were out there. Some of them look like stingrays from what I've seen. So they kind of look like a biological.
Apparently they're pretty hush hush.
Yeah.
Of course, if you've got a surface vessel, anybody with a camera can get pictures of it. Subsurface, a lot harder.
A lot harder to see those,
Yeah.
Again. And just one thing on those down pilots, they sent that autonomous boat out to get it. It was even nighttime.
I'm not surprised.
That boat, I don't know how the boat finds them. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they got IR vision on it, night vision of various types, and probably thermal, which would, even though, I don't know what the temperature of the water around there is, probably fairly warm.
Won't the pilots have some kind of locator beam on?
I would think they would.
Yeah.
They would have some kind of each of them would probably have a beacon, and if my guess would be that 2 of them would communicate with each other, and one would turn on the beacon and then the other wait because they only have so much battery power.
Oh, okay.
So if the beacon goes out after a couple days, then you.
I would have been a little patient waiting 2 hours.
2 hours is pretty good, pretty fast.
Is it?
I think so.
Not if I'm in the water.
Of course, I read a lot of World War II stories, and so sometimes those people, nobody ever came to pick them up, or they made it to an island or something like that, or they were in the water or like a raft for days, weeks.
And I'd be real careful with the beacons because the Iranians already sent a drone out after them. They might send another personnel drone, anti-personnel drone.
Certainly possible.
Which there was no indication they did, but I definitely would worry.
I'm trying to think if helicopters have any kind of like life raft on them or anything.
I doubt it.
I wouldn't think so, not generally.
Maybe the seats float.
Well, I suspect there's some type of flotation device.
Well, when I got on that one military helicopter, they made me wear a vest because we were going to fly over water. I would imagine they have something.
I'm pretty sure they do because I recall having a briefing. I flew on a Black Hawk twice, I think, and I recall there's something about, if we go into the water, this thing floats or whatever.
I was on they made us put it on. We were, we went out on a missile destroyer for the day as civilians, and then they put us on a Black Hawk to take us home, and it was over water, so
yeah,
we had the life vest on, which was fine. But that was the first time I'd really ridden in a helicopter. And I'm a pilot, so they wouldn't let me sit up front.
Yeah,
I did ask, and there's 3 of them up front. I guess there's a pilot, a co-pilot, and an engineer of some kind.
Yeah, maybe a
up
weapons
front.
officer.
But they wouldn't let me up front anyway. But the thing that caused me unnerving is when we got back to San Diego, they came up and to where they stopped in midair. They came up to slow down. I'm thinking we're going to stall because that's my
yeah, because your wings don't generally rotate.
Of course, I know better. I mean, mentally, I know.
It was a gut feeling, I imagine.
Yeah. It's like this doesn't feel right. This isn't good. We're going to fall out of the sky. And I know it's a helicopter.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me that flying helicopter is completely different from flying a fixed wing aircraft.
Yeah, I've seen the controls and I know how they operate. I've never tried to fly one. No one's ever given me that opportunity, but it would be, they say, like rubbing your belly and patting your head.
They say, I mean, I've told you about some of my experiences with what I call my genius farmers in Australia. And this was a story told to me, but it sounded authentic that one of the sons, the father had purchased a helicopter in his 70s because they wouldn't give him lessons to fly a helicopter with their helicopter.
So he bought it.
So he bought a helicopter.
Sounds reasonable.
And he learned to fly it and was adequate with it. Supposedly, one of the sons decided he wanted to teach himself how to fly the helicopter.
Okay.
So they tied a big rope to the helicopter.
So he couldn't get altitude.
So he couldn't go too high. And he taught himself to go up and come down on that helicopter while it was tied to a rope. And I'm going, whoa, these guys are less risk averse than I am.
Well, that's how the first guys learned.
Yeah, that's true. And there are plenty of people who teach themselves how to fly. As odd as that may sound nowadays, when you got plenty of instructors available.
I would do it. I'm not 70 yet, but when I am, I'll buy a helicopter.
Well, we all make choices in life,
if
right?
you see a helicopter flying around, duck. Be careful. Hey, comedian Jon Stewart had his comments. The comedians have become less comedy, I guess.
Well, the ones on air tend to be radical leftists.
Yes. Now, Jon Stewart, I don't know what he is.
I
presume I think he's left, but he seems to be more open to talk about, common sense things, rather than, support Kamala Harris no matter what.
Yeah, well, I can't say that I've watched him. I may have at one time, just inadvertently.
But this Donald Trump that walked out on Meet the Press that we talked about, the Kristen Welker interview with NBC, he commented on that. He says, and he talks about the segment when Trump's calling her crooked and all that kind of stuff. But this is where Kristen Welker nearly undoes all the good work she did with one of the worst pleas in history of journalism. Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin, which is hilarious.
It is funny
because she was begging.
Well, and the idea that traveling to Wisconsin was a severe burden is kind of funny.
So Stewart mocked her a little bit, says, you can't leave, sir. I was in business class. Mr. President, please, Wisconsin, Wheel of Fortune is an hour earlier here. These people are savages. Their Chinese restaurants only serve Szechuan and no Cantonese to be found. We all die of consumption, Good for Stewart.
Oh my, that is funny.
You can't be a leftist and say those things, I wouldn't think, but he gets away with it.
I am amazed that he got away with it.
He said, but you know what? Maybe finally this moment will give journalists permission to not back down, to not just leave it there and move on, and finally be honest about Trump's inability to be challenged in the moment. And that's where I think it's wrong with Stewart.
That sounds like exactly the wrong
I think
way to take it.
I think Trump was challenged too much.
Well,
it was over the top.
He fought back, and this is what people love about Trump. He doesn't just take the absurd.
In an interview, and I've watched tons of them and listened to them, and I've done them and all that stuff. You can challenge somebody on something, but you can't just keep challenging because the interview only becomes about that. You got to accept their viewpoint as their viewpoint and move on. She didn't do that.
Right.
She didn't do it at all. She would say, well, there's no proof. There's no proof. There's no proof. There's no proof. And Trump says there's all the proof you want, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And
you just aren't willing to see the proof.
Right. And she just wouldn't let go of it. And Trump just like, I've had it. And she pushed it way too far.
Well, again, that's when you see that the interview is done with Biden and then edited very carefully afterwards, or Kamala Harris, there wasn't any of this animosity.
Yeah, Stewart says you were inside. There was no challenge from the rain, which Donald Trump, well, there was. It was very loud. It was a metal building. F that, and he was there an hour. F that. No, Donald Trump was not thrown off by ambient noise in the interview. In fact, ambient farm rain is the least disruptive noise environment he conducts interviews in. Well, yeah, he conducts them everywhere. When the helicopter's taken off and he's on the Air Force One, when there's a lot of air noise and stuff like that. But I don't think it was the rain. I think it was the Welker.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say too. I mean, it seems clear.
I wonder what happens if you're on Air Force One.
Well, inside, I think the sound.
No, I mean, can you walk away? I mean, how far can you go?
Well, you just tell the Secret Service, take her to the back.
Yeah, take her to the back, hell, and strap her in.
Yeah. We don't open the door during flight.
Welker said this could be the first multiple interruptions due to weather, rain on the metal roof, making it difficult for both of us to hear each other. That's Welker's excuse.
That's her excuse.
As we're having this conversation, we can hear a little bit of rain. The president acknowledged point of a lot of rain. That was not it. Donald and Stewart says Donald Trump didn't storm out because of the rain. He stormed out because of it. He was challenged. I don't think it was challenged. I mean, it was just being treated rude.
Yes.
It's not that. So not because he was distracted. So maybe it's time to stop making excuses for that man in order to preserve access to his constant bull crap.
See, that's an attack right there.
Yeah, but I guess it is an attack. Generally, he's been different. Isn't it Jon Stewart that went there and to visit Trump, and he wrote all the insults that Trump has given him over the years, like he wrote all the names Trump called him, and he handed him the paper, so Trump signed it and handed it back to him.
Now that's going to be a valuable paper in a short order.
I thought it was pretty cool. I think it was Trump. It might have been Jon Stewart. If not, I apologize.
I don't know, but I mean, I suspect since he already has excellent income,
might have been
and all that,
it might have been
that he'll
Bill
probably
Maher.
frame it and put it above the desk.
It might have been Bill Maher.
Might have been. I don't know.
Might have been. I'll get the two of them confused. But Trump, and that's when Trump accused NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, all of being crooked during, and that's when you got under his skin a little bit. You're all crooked. You're one-sided. You're crooked. Let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Well, I think that
good for him.
For probably at least half of the country, maybe more, they're nodding their heads and saying, "Yeah, that's correct."
I think he was right to walk out. I mean, it wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
She was just continuing to badger him over a question. Obviously, he wasn't going to answer any more completely than he already did.
Right. And I have to watch the whole thing, I think, and look at it because
he said he was there for an hour.
Everything that I have read about it is that it was a bunch of gotcha questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do an interview to find out something about the person. She doesn't care about that. She wants to correct him.
Well,
not I don't know wherever you stand, I want to correct you.
Yeah, this idea of her saying there's no proof of that. There's no proof of that. And that's not she's the one who has to disprove things.
Right. Right. And it's telling when they interview Biden and others that they just give them softballs and it's easy stuff. Yeah. And then Trump comes on, it's challenge.
Well, President Biden, how is it that you turned out to be so wonderful?
Yeah, exactly. I remember when Obama was on The View or something, and they were just swooning over him and just wonderful about him being so good looking and everything. I'm like, wow, that's really an interview question.
Yeah, well,
on the View and all that. But it's so obvious that it's a little different on these shows.
I do some interviews for my writing,
Right.
but it's a different thing. I'm trying to find out facts.
Right.
I'm trying to find out what a person experienced. That's a lot different than trying to interview somebody about policy matters.
Yep.
You know,
It looks like my fact checker is listening on YouTube, but so far he hasn't called or he hasn't said anything to.
that probably means you're doing a superb job.
No, it means he's busy.
I like
believe me, he could find fault.
Oh,
He's
well,
like
yeah.
Kristen Welker.
You're saying he's very good at that, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. He pays attention to details. He does.
Well, that's a good thing. I try to pay attention to details myself.
Yeah. I talked to this a little bit about dirty sodas. I didn't even know what a dirty soda was, but I was concerned about it because doctors are warning of the health risk. I said, well, I got to find out about these dirty sodas. They must taste good.
Probably.
Yeah.
So what are they? Did you find out?
Yeah. It started. This one started because of the Mormons, which is interesting because I know a lot of Mormons won't drink anything with caffeine.
Right. I was going to say they have a prohibition on caffeine.
Yeah, it has it's a combination of added ingredients. It's a soda that has flavored syrups, creamers, fruit juices, and other garnishes. And the result is a sweet beverage that's a combination of a soda, mocktail, and dessert. Now,
okay,
I don't know if you've been in a grocery store, as you walked around, you'll see how much of the aisles are taken up by beverages.
A lot.
And if you look at what people buy, beverages is a big percentage of the food bill. It's just crazy.
Well, if you can sell people water and make a profit, that's a heck of a deal.
Yeah. Well, they have water with sugar in it, but I have
ordinary water gets sold.
I drink ordinary water, but I have a reverse osmosis at the house.
There you go.
I don't have to buy it. It means I don't have to lug it around. I prefer it that way. When I first got married to Helen didn't have a reverse osmosis in the house, but she'd only drink RO water, which she had these bottle. He's saying she'd fill up and lug to the house. You'd go to one of those places that have RO water for, put money in the machine and fill up your jugs.
That's probably one of the cheapest ways to get it.
Yeah. So I was doing that for a while and I said, I've had enough of that. And I bought a system and installed it under the sink. So we have it right there handy.
Sure.
One day she told me she misses the trip to go get the water.
Well,
I said, well, you still can if you like,
whatever.
But it's convenient. But I don't drink a lot of beverages. In fact, when I go out to restaurants, I generally drink just water.
Well, that's what I usually do. But I have to admit, I have a fairly sophisticated taste in water, and I will ask that I can taste the water first.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because there's some parts of the country where water's really bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I don't like to drink water that tastes bad. So most places, and I think most places in Yuma use an RO or something for water they put out on the table for guests at a restaurant. But I've encountered places that don't. I don't remember which ones right now.
I've gone into some restaurants and order water, and they say, well, it's included with the meal. It doesn't cost you anything. I said, well, good. I still want water.
Well, right.
I could get iced tea or I could get something else.
And frankly, generally, beverages are a very high profit margin item in restaurants.
Oh, everywhere. I was in a convenience store business for a while, and it was like a 95% profit.
Wow. That's a good profit.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. These drinks, though, these heavy sugar, are considered dangerous with insulin resistance, pre-diabetes and diabetes, and according to some docs that were involved in it, dietitians. And it kind of originated in Utah years ago at specialty soda shops. They reported that the Morgan faith seeking an alternative to coffee. The drink was then popularized by social media TV shows such as The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I've never seen it.
Me either.
The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and they were explaining how they do these. They're non-alcoholic, obviously.
Right.
The Dirty Soda trend was created to Swig, a Utah-based soda shop founded in 2010, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints abstained from coffee and alcohol, helping create demand for customized non-alcoholic drinks. There are multiple soda shops in most suburbs here at Utah. I never knew that.
That makes sense to me.
Utah, shouldn't have caffeine, though, I wouldn't think. He says, I have many coworkers who stop at one daily on their way to work
Oh,
because
sure.
they don't drink coffee, but will drink dirty sodas.
Well, and there's the whole Starbucks thing.
Oh, yeah,
is
exactly. You see
people-
lines
people-
out there.
People stop at Starbucks on the way to work, and they in a lot of cases, I'm not saying everybody, they don't do the math. You spend $5 a day on Starbucks, it starts adding up.
Yeah.
That's 100. Well, it depends whether you only do it when you're on the way to work, but a lot of people do it every day.
It's $100 a month. Easy.
$150 a month.
Yeah.
And that's, what? $17,000 a year?
No, 1,500.
Yeah, $1,500 or $1,700
Yeah.
dollars a year.
Yeah.
But it's that can
Be
make
a couple grand
considerable
real easy.
difference.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people buy this stuff and keep it in the refrigerator at home.
Sure.
Can't bottled stuff. My daughter does. She
Oh, yeah.
buys all kinds of sodas and waters, and she has an RO system in the house, and she still buys bottled water.
Well, but
I don't get it.
I'm trying to think if I have. I think I was going on a trip one time, and I bought a case of bottled water just so I can throw it in the car and not worry about
Well, that's
it.
okay. Yeah, we get.
It served as an emergency supply as well.
Sure. No, she has it to drink around the house. Dirty sodas have recently grown in popularity and appearing in many restaurant menus, which I could have to look. I never knew. Grocery store shelves, Coca-Cola's launched its Coca-Cola Cherry Float, which is designed to mimic the soda and cream experience. Pepsi has offered Dirty Mountain Dew cream soda. Sounds wonderful.
It sounds very tasty. I have to say, for
Make-
whatever reason, I just stopped drinking carbonated beverages, and
I pretty much do.
I lost the desire for them.
McDonald's, Taco Bell, Sonic, Dunkin' all have dirty soda options.
Well, people want it.
Well, that means everyone's got to outdo it. And they've got one called The Cake is Crumble, which recently launched a dirty soda that includes multiple sweet ingredients on top of an already sweet-based soda. And Mark Hyman, he's a social media post, says Crumble needs to be stopped. Their new dirty soda contains 186 grams of sugar.
That's a lot of sugar.
Wow. The equivalent of eating 19 Krispy Kreme donuts.
Whoa.
That makes my teeth hurt. This is
19?
this is a
It must be
metabolic
huge.
disaster. Should be illegal.
Well, I always look at this stuff when people say it's really bad for you. It all depends on how active you are. I mean,
Well, if you're going to just drink one in a lifetime, I guess it'd be all right.
My brother was involved in a promotional race to the magnetic North Pole one time. Well, it's 40 below zero. Even in the summer, it was really cold.
Yeah.
And he said they drank like oil, like olive oil, straight in order to maintain the calorie input they needed in that weather.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were several thousand calories a day they were going through.
Yeah.
So, in a case like that, these would be just maybe almost good enough.
Just remember when you get back home, stop it.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
So, people who are athletes and are trained really hard, they have to take in a lot of calories.
Oh, football players and stuff, they'll do over 5,000 a day, easy,
right?
During training camp. But you got to remember when you retire.
Yeah, that's a problem. You get used to it, and then the habit carries over when you don't want it to.
Yeah, don't have 15 eggs for breakfast after you retire. You want to stop
and it's not easy to do. And I'm not. Has anybody ever done a study on football players to see how their longevity compares to ordinary people?
I don't know. I imagine it.
Don't know.
I mean, there's some football players that are very health nuts, like Tom Brady.
Sure.
I mean, he's going to be fine.
And we know that there are people. I think if you stay more physically active, you tend to do better. And if you're real physically active, you have to eat more.
Yeah, well, and there's been some I doubt that do well, like Refrigerator Perry, if you remember. I mean, I don't
remember.
He was on the Chicago Bears, and he was so big. I mean, he was big the day he came in,
right?
Just huge. He was quite the phenomenal player. I don't think he played that long, but one time they put him on offense. They handed him the ball. He just ran through everybody.
Wow.
He was so big, like a big sumo wrestler
Yeah.
kind of guy. Refrigerator Perry. I don't think he was healthy, but he was strong.
It is so hard to know because it's all statistical. You can say that on the average, this behavior works better. But you find some people, what I tend not to see really heavy people live really long. But I'm not sure that really skinny people live really long either. I think some of them do. I mean,
Well, Refrigerator Perry, 63 years old, still going.
still going.
So,
there
it's
you
good.
go. See,
Good for
it's
him.
not so obvious.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot has to do with your genetics.
Yeah.
So, and these statistical studies, they're statistical. So they're just an average of a whole bunch of people.
Well, Refrigerator Perry, he was a cult hero and defensive tackle in 1985. Chicago Bears faced severe health and financial struggles since his NFL career ended. He lived in assisted living and retirement facility in South Carolina. Wow. He's only 63 now, but he's already done that. Impacts of weight fluctuations and alcoholism.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. You live the fun, you live the high life for a while.
My friend who died about alcoholism was an incredible athlete for most of his life. But, alcoholism takes its toll.
Diabetes, leg infections. So, yeah, keep drinking these sodas. Had to sell his Super Bowl rings to pay off expenses and medical bills. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. William Perry was his name. It was a lot of fun when he played. I mean, it was fun to watch. He was like, so different.
Yeah.
But he was unhealthy.
He's 63. He had a lot of problems. We have a lot of people in society who have a lot of problems at 63.
There was a football player named Hollywood Henderson with the Dallas Cowboys. Very famous, Super Bowl rings, lots of them. And he got into drug and alcohol, sold his rings and all that kind of stuff. And then he got rehabilitated and became Christian and all that.
Yes.
And he wrote a book about it. And he went on some speaking tours and took some of the money he made at one of the speaking tours and just went and bought a bunch of lottery tickets and got $10 million.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading this story now. Yeah.
I interviewed him on air.
Oh, you did?
I called him up and he came on air and talked to me about it.
Wow.
He said he put it all in the book.
That's a really great. Was it a cold call?
Yeah. No, I called him and set it up.
Okay.
And set up an interview with him. And, and he was promoting the book anyway. So, yeah, of course he'll talk to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he said that, now he's got investment programs. He's taking care of everything. It's a second chance in life.
Yeah.
And he got $10 million on a lottery ticket. Like
it's not the way you generally want to try to invest. I mean, some people think lottery tickets are an investment.
Yeah, I think Edward tells me it's a good retirement benefit for those that can't count. Don't know math.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it called a tax on the ignorant.
Yeah, it is. It's the chances are so slim.
They are.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
chances are not good.
You're much better off if you want to bet on things is bet on in the stock market. You have a lot better chance of making money.
In fact, you got a good chance a lot of times.
And if you want to have a sure thing, go for index funds.
Yeah.
And then you just have to wait.
Yeah. Waiting's tough. And people want to make lots of money. They don't want to make money over the long run.
Yeah.
People want to double, triple.
That's a problem.
Yeah. It's not going to do that. It's too easy.
I know that, yes, but
that takes a lot of research, intelligence, and all that stuff.
Just
to do all
simple math.
Yeah.
I mean, it's high school math will do it.
Yeah, but somebody's got to win the lottery. I'll just keep buying that ticket.
Yeah.
No, I don't play very often. I mean, I have bought some occasionally years ago, but I don't know.
I think I was 9 years old when I discovered compound interest.
Oh, okay.
And I went, whoa.
Yeah. Well, what
a powerful tool.
That's exactly what Einstein said. He still doesn't understand it.
Well, it's money makes money.
It's a mystery. Mark Siegel has talked about these sodas, these unhealthy sodas, is that they're loaded with processed sugar, empty calories, saturated fats. They're also highly addictive. Well, that's why you keep drinking them. especially because of the high sugar content. They're about 400 calories per serving. And of course, they're fluid, so you think it's not affecting my diet. You know, it's water.
Interesting.
You think it's water. So you drink 2 or 3 of them, and then all of a sudden you got
man.
1,200 calories.
Oh, how many calories are there per drink?
400 per.
Well, okay.
So over time, regular consumption of these types of sugary beverages can train the brain to seek repeated dopamine and endorphin releases. They can increase the risk of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and other chronic illnesses.
You see, I think an ordinary 12-ounce can of sugared soda is roughly 200 calories or more.
I think so. Yeah, regular sugar and all that. Of course, if you want to drink the poisonous sugar-free stuff, you won't get the. You won't
Pick
get
your
the,
poison.
yeah.
Water. I'll drink water.
There you go. Let me see. There's a nutritionalist in Charlotte, North Carolina. It says, additionally, the creamy mix-ins featured in dirty sodas are generally high in saturated fat, another nutrient that should be. You be careful. If you're looking for a mocktail or fun non-alcoholic beverage, consider using a base of plain seltzer water for a bubbly drink. Now, I do that. I have a seltzer machine at the house.
I have done it. But...
even with the same add-ins, your end result will contain considerably less sugar, but still taste sweet. I'm seeing an emergency physician in Charleston, South Carolina. You know, when you get emergencies, guys kicking in, he noted that dirty sodas represent a continuation of the trend towards highly sugary beverages. Their effects are short-lived, prompting individuals to consume excessive amounts. I see that with Red Bulls and stuff. People drink a Red Bull and they say, I need another one. And they could be dangerous in high
well,
amounts.
Self-discipline is hard.
Yes.
I mean, at least it appears to be. I mean,
I know from experience.
Very good.
There we go. So it's less nutrition, more sugar, and all that. So the beverage, and it needs to be asked less than 10% of the daily energy consumption, which I'm sure with many people it's more than 10% of calories and stuff. Beverages with added sugar are one of the most easily modifiable risk factors in various downstream health issues. For those who decide to try dirty soda trend, they recommend choosing a small size, using a diet soda base, limiting it to a rare treat. That ain't gonna happen. It's really belong in the same category as a cake or a milkshake. So pick your poison.
Well, I mean, it all depends how much you consume and how active you are. And I think there are a lot of things that I think, first off, being more active is probably one of the best things you can do.
Of course.
And it's not easy not to succumb to the instant pleasure you get with tasty food.
I talked about the active part the other day when a dementia study came out and said that, and it was a 30-year study, like 150,000 people or something in it. But
it's a big study.
It is, but it's got some drawbacks in that, it was taking their word for how much exercise they did, and
right?
Like that.
That's always not easy.
They don't lock you up in a room for 30 years.
Well, what we're having studies now that are put things like an Apple Watch or something on your wrist.
Oh yeah,
and they get a really accurate idea of how much activity you're really doing.
Activity, yeah, but now you got to take the word for food intake and stuff.
Sure,
too.
But I mean that when you monitor the heart rate all the time, you get a pretty good idea of the activity.
My pacemaker monitors all that.
Yeah, well, and so does my
I
Apple Watch.
can't even take it off.
Well, I can take mine off. Has to be charged.
But this one was it talked about resistance training.
Yeah.
And anybody does like 2 hours a week, which is not a ton. Is it?
It's not.
I mean, if you're a regular gym goer, it's nothing.
It's not that big a deal, but no. I mean, I did aerobic exercise for decades. I mean, geez, 4 or 5 decades. And 2 hours a week's a lot of aerobic exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who did the original research said,
and that's more cardio too, right?
It is.
Okay.
An hour and a half, 3 half-hour sessions a week gets you in tremendously good shape.
Well, and they separated those two, the aerobic versus the weight training and stuff, the resistance training.
Right.
It doesn't have to be weights, it could be resistance. But they said 2 hours is the max, up to 2 hours, it's going to give you like 19%. And half
Okay.
of it would give you still additional. But they say if you add aerobics to it, it's like 44% less chance of dementia. Those numbers
Wow,
are huge.
That's a big difference.
If you could make that a drug and sell it, you'd be a
Yeah, oh, yeah,
billionaire.
right. I remember reading a book because to me, things like Alzheimer's are the big scary things.
Sure. Yeah.
Alzheimer's, cancer, nasty stuff. And I read a book, How to Prevent Alzheimer's. I mean, actually, it was more about how to delay Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Because you can't completely prevent it, they were saying. But look, if you do these things, it tends to delay the onset. Well, if you delay the onset long enough, you die. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And it was things like trying new things, keeping your mind active, exercising. And they said, well, exercising tends to put it off a few years. And, if you keep your mind active, that's another few years. Pretty soon you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, we know that becoming president doesn't work. Let's take a phone call. Good morning, Mike.
Morning. You guys take a break?
No, I'm good. What's up, man?
Not like the radio, huh?
I don't have to. That's right. I don't have to take a break. Yeah.
We don't have that structure.
What's
2
up?
days in a row. I go months without even staying alone. Now 2 days in a row.
Totally ignore me, and then 2 days in a row. I approve. I totally approve.
I don't ignore you, but I just
It's the start of a
not
trend.
easy to call in.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. But I want to share some Mormonology with you.
Okay.
Oh,
So you got to understand, this is coming from a completely what they call a Jack Mormon, not practicing, haven't been inside a church in well over a decade.
All right.
But I was raised. Both my parents were born and raised in Utah, pioneer stock and everything, and I was raised in the church. And I want to interpret a little bit on the caffeine deal for you. The strict letter of the law, it's called the word of wisdom. You're not supposed, you're the spirit is, you're supposed to take care of your body, take care of the temple of God, eat healthy and stay away from bad things, which include hot drinks.
Oh,
Back in the day, that was interpreted as coffee and tea. And now the ones that want to go crazy with it say, well, coffee and tea both have caffeine. So I guess caffeine is the problem. And I'm not the one to interpret, God's will or even the church's desire. The bottom line is eat healthy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like these dirty sodas are a healthy choice.
It doesn't sound like it. Yet they got popular in the Mormon culture,
so
trying to find alternatives to alcohol.
I find this interesting that it's hot drinks. So what about cold coffee?
See, that's the thing. There's the spirit of the law. Take care of your body, take care of yourself, moderation, don't overdo it. And then there's a letter. The letter of the law literally says hot drinks. It doesn't say coffee, doesn't say tea, doesn't say hot coffee, doesn't say cold coffee. It just says hot drink.
And the reason I asked that is because I started doing some research, just reading about some of the research, and really good research, I have to say, about coffee. And what it said is basically coffee is good for you. You get
so it's a little bit of wine.
You get, well, that's not quite so much. The latest research says, maybe that stuff about the wine's not so clear. But we have large studies done with coffee in Norway. I mean, tens of thousands, thousands, many thousands of people over many years. And then we have animal studies done with coffee, with like the placebo being hot water or non-caffeinated coffee. And they're out there, and they're well done. I mean, I'm a scientist. I look at how the study was done, and what they all show is some definite benefit, not huge benefits, but like a reduction in certain kinds of cancers. And for coffee itself, it increases your mental acuity a little bit when you're using it. So I've been surprised at how beneficial coffee is. And they're very specific in the research. It's not instant coffee doesn't work, and it has to be brewed coffee. And hot water doesn't do it, and just caffeine doesn't do it either. So I find this very interesting that the emphasis is on health, because I agree with that 100%.
Yep. And you go back to the interpretation of it. Look at people will say, well, I'll drink decaf.
Right.
Well, the process the bean goes through to remove the caffeine leaves you with something that's not exactly healthy either.
I never heard that.
Yeah. What I've seen when I read the research on it was decaf doesn't help you. They didn't say it hurt you. They just said it doesn't have the benefits.
So do you deliver a lot of those types of dirty soda drinks when you're delivering?
They're kind of new.
Are they? Okay. Because it says Taco Bell, McDonald's are all having them now.
Yeah. Within the last literally weeks or maybe a month. And I don't deliver that much anymore. I went out this morning and I got 4 orders from Home Depot. So I was delivering around town Home Depot stuff early in the morning. I don't only do food. I also do a lot of Walmart groceries and that. And the food and drinks, sometimes, like Starbucks, they seal their bags. McDonald's seals their bags. A lot of the restaurants, whether they're paper or plastic bags, they seal them. And including, some with drinks inside. So
and they should. Much attention. They should.
Well, that kind of makes sense to me, because then people don't have to worry very much about a litter.
Well, these delivery drivers are drinking some of it.
Well, or as much about theft.
They're spitting in it. You don't leave a tip, you might get a little bit of hot to it. You might get a fry or two missing. There's a lot of ways. It definitely should be sealed and taken care of.
If I'm going to ask, Mike, just because I'm curious. I mean, you said you've done pretty well on tips. So as a percentage of the cost of what you're delivering, do you have any idea as a percentage what kind of tips, or do you get roughly a certain amount, or is it vary so much you can't make a general statement?
No, it's absolutely no general statement, but I will give you some guidelines. When the stuff, especially during COVID, when all of this was kind of considered relatively new, I would get orders from Uber Eats that were, I wouldn't even look at it unless it was $12 or $13. And I don't care if it was going just a couple miles, I wouldn't bother. But I'd get sometimes $25, $30 tips added to the order. That don't happen much anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it used to be you'd pick up an Uber Eats order and it would pay out like $6-7. They include the time you got to go, and you could put extra for waiting at the restaurant, and then you got to go deliver it, and then you get the tip added. So it would have been almost 50-50. But now Uber and I believe Grubhub pay just a flat fee. It's like, oh no, DoorDash does this too. It's like $1.50. Or if you have 2 orders, one of them's $1.50, the second one's $1.25. So you're making $3.75 to drive around to deliver a couple orders, unless the people tip.
How do you pay how do you pay vehicle expenses on those little fees?
You can't.
Yeah.
And that's and nor the maintenance, the upkeep of your vehicles.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for people to do it, but there are people who can't get work elsewhere. They don't work well with others like me that were, just happy. And I got in at the right time. And now, I'm making $3 or $4 grand a month just doing cars, selling cars. And I do this other stuff, just on the side, like you guys know, I've mentioned before.
Right.
I'm awake. Why am I going to just lay here in bed and watch Netflix or YouTube or whatever? I used to be able to listen to you on the radio. Yeah. Hopefully that's coming soon.
We hope so.
But real quick, back to the caffeine and Mormons. you guys have heard of a bishop before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A Mormon bishop, and then they have a leader above that called a stake president.
Okay.
You're broken up in wards, geographical areas where they group a bunch of the churchgoers together, and some will go in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and some will go in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So a ward has a bishop over it, and then you've got like 5, 6, maybe more wards that are in what's called a stake, and that's a larger geographical area. That I think there's probably just one stake in all of the city of Yuma, and 5 or 6 wards. Well, when I was growing up and being conscientious and trying to do good, we lived in Seattle, but I'd visit my family in Utah all the time, and I had an uncle who was a stake president. He would not drink coffee. He would not drink tea, but he went through 4 or 5 cans of Coke, or bottles or cans. I think I saw him with both.
Well,
a day.
they were cold, probably.
Sure, but they were caffeine. That's what I'm saying.
I was just making
caffeine and sugar. Yeah, I got you. Not the hot drink thing, but it was not healthy. It was not. It's just up to your own interpretation. And the bottom line, in the end, it's going to be you at the judgment door. You're the one facing God. You're the one that's going to have to justify your decisions. Yeah. And some people, even very strict followers, have a little gray area.
Human nature.
From time to time. Yep. It's life.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, I'll let you guys go. I picked up a Circle K coffee sitting right next to me.
All right, take care, man. Bye bye.
And it's cold. It's the iced coffee. And
iced coffee
flavor.
You see, you're in compliance.
Yeah, don't drink any of it.
I guess, no. I have. I start zoning out around 10, 11 o'clock. I need a nap or a coffee.
I like the nap thing. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys.
Good.
Bye.
Yeah, he's been our Uber guy.
Yeah.
Learn a lot.
I hear about Uber investing in autonomous vehicle technology.
Pretty soon it's going to Mike's going to be gone.
Well, I'm thinking that will go away when you have autonomous vehicles that can do the driving part. Still got to deliver it to the doorway, so maybe they have some kind of robot to take that.
I've seen some of those where a little wheeled item comes out of the car, goes up, drops off the front steps or something. But it's all experimental. Who knows what's going to look like in the future? You may have a robot that's on 2 legs.
Well, and we have these quadricopter type things. I've seen an octocopter or whatever version you have that'll just fly it to a doorway and drop it off.
Yeah. Amazing technology coming out.
It's all happening rapidly.
It is. We'll see it 5 years or so. Probably more.
It's all happening. I mean, we're getting new stuff all the time. I had no idea that the Navy had autonomous surface ships until I heard of this rescue.
Yeah.
And apparently they were just on the drawing board 6 months ago.
It's coming quick.
Fast. Very fast.
And we got to stay ahead, because if we don't, militarily we'll be second place in a hurry with some of this technology.
Well, I think we do have to stay ahead, and I think it's good for the world, because I believe we're in Pax Americana, that the freedom of the seas and the ability to have commerce with other countries is basically enforced by the United States.
What's the most important technology do you think would be dangerous for us to get behind in?
Probably AI.
That's what I think.
Artificial intelligence.
AI is the one that people are talking the most about, as far as you don't want to be the second.
And it gets incorporated into everything else.
But look, we've got AI problems in this country because we've got factors working against us.
Yes.
And that's in the I'm talking about in the United States, trying to get rid of data centers.
Well, and it appears that a fair amount of this opposition is funded by our opponents. And I mean foreign opponents like China and maybe Russia to an extent too.
And that's something that Senator Tom Cotton is working on. And he's pointed out And one name really comes up that they've zeroed in on, a tycoon named Neville Roy Singham. You've heard the name.
I have heard. I am somewhat familiar. He's tied in very tightly with the Chinese
Well, he's
Communist
living
Party.
there. He's an American tycoon, tycoon. He's living in China, and he's investing lots of money in a lot of like places like Code Pink, People's Forum, Tricontinental, Breakthrough News, all these guys that are very leftist and very against some of the data centers and stuff.
Well, right.
And
but
they're thinking that money's coming from.
That's my understanding. Is there's no protest going on in China against these things?
No, it's China. You can't protest China.
Well,
In China,
I would say I'm reluctant to say you just can't, because there might be some time.
They tried it in Tinian Square.
when the Chinese Communist Party says, we want this protest to promote a certain image
Maybe.
at this point.
A government-funded protest.
Yeah, maybe a protest against American aggression,
Right.
something like that.
Singham, he's an avid Marxist, apparently, and he's the
Okay.
founder of a Chicago-based company called ThoughtWorks that he sold in 2017, and now he lives in Shanghai. And he's a member of this, let me see, he's a member of the Shanghai Singham Network. We're journeying to Havana to support Communist Party of Cuba earlier this year.
Sure.
So he's an all-around good guy.
Well, I always found it kind of a contradiction to be a wealthy Marxist, but
Well, he just funneled $278 million through his 501(c)(3) nonprofit, Singham Network, to the ones I just put, like Code Pink, People's Forum, and all that stuff. And they've all participated. All these have participated in opposing AI development, semiconductor, export controls, and large-scale data center projects.
Well,
all of it.
It's
He wants it all stopped.
It's kind of similar to Russia funneling money into the anti-nuclear and pro-deep green groups in Europe.
And yes, it is. And then when they got rid of all their energy and were dependent on Russia, they had to be laughing. Like,
Yeah.
you idiots.
Yeah.
You idiots.
Well,
You just gave it all up, and now
Trump
we own
warned
you.
Europe.
Of course he did. Germany paying for a pipeline to come into Russia at the, supporting them at the same time that Russia is threatening Europe. Just kind of crazy. But these people like Code Pink and People's Forum and all that, they're putting out all this garbage about data centers and everything that has caused such a negative that half of the projects right now are on hold or canceled that were scheduled to be built.
Yeah.
They're very successful at swaying the stupid minds of Americans.
Well, we have freedom of speech here, and so
we do.
If you have a lot of people making statements that sound sort of plausible,
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people are going to believe them.
and they say this data center is going to come in, it's going to destroy you, and we got proof because we got a data center here that's what had happened. And there might be some anecdotal places where it was a bad mix. Might have been.
Possible.
I'm sure there is.
Right.
That doesn't mean all thousands of the thousands of them that are out there have. Some of them have been very good contributors.
Right.
And contributors to national security and everything else, because we need them to promote the industry. And it's enough to know that Neville Roy Singham cares so much about it. He's going to spend billions of dollars to stop us from doing it. And do you think he cares about America? No, he's a Marxist.
Exactly. I mean, by definition, virtually Marxists want to destroy America.
Yeah. Well, Tom Cotton is urging the Justice Department to investigate the campaign, calls it a covert campaign, and it's linked to China to kneecap America's rapidly expanding artificial intelligence.
I think there was a similar campaign to try to stop the development of nuclear power in the United States.
Oh, really?
I suspect that a lot of money was spent by the Soviet Union to empower groups here to protest nuclear power plants. Can't prove it, but it seems like an obvious thing to me.
Tom Cotton's looking for it, and he's asking Attorney General Tom Blanche, or he's the acting Attorney General, to examine whether foreign actors are attempting to shape U.S. public opinion and policy against data centers and AI development in Washington, and that Beijing complete for dominance in artificial intelligence. He says recent reports show that the communist China is attempting to influence our policy and public opinion on data centers, and the reason's obvious. They want to kneecap our processing power to win the AI race.
That sounds very clear to me.
Americans should decide their own future free of communist propaganda. I'm encouraging the Department of Justice to investigate, and I'm sure they are. Pro-China protesters have seized on high electrical costs. That's been one of their big ones. With operating data center, one of the key themes of new protests is the rising electricity costs, bills that consumers have been seeing in recent months, which we have, and we've got increased costs in Yuma. I mean, in Arizona overall. And when they went to the Corporation Commission, they put on the list that they needed more money because they need to build infrastructure for data centers. And that's poison.
Well, we're growing. We still have population increase in the United States, and we have it has been my position for many years that you can measure how advanced a society is by how much power it uses.
Yeah.
And the more power produced and used, the higher your civilization has risen.
Well, Trump has hit this off by saying that these companies need to produce their own power, have their own power, and
Right.
stuff like that, which
And
they do, but the infrastructure.
Right. One of the things that we've lagged behind, I believe, is we have not made all the improvements and maintenance on the grid that we should be doing.
Biden stopped a lot of it.
And so there is that. I think the idea of having small modular nuclear power systems is a good one, but it's going to take a little while to implement.
Well, I think the first step's been made with it. One was purchased and sent to some college to have, do some work on it to see if it's feasible.
Well, there's been, I know that
feasibility
the
studies,
Japanese have been working on this for a long time. A few years ago, there was an offer by a Japanese company to provide a small nuclear reactor to a remote Alaskan village so they wouldn't have to keep shipping inexpensive diesel all the time. And they refused it. So, there's been a lot of anti-nuclear propaganda over the decades. But actually, from what I see and what I read, a nuclear power plant is one of the cleanest, least risky methods of producing power there is.
But the movie The China Syndrome killed it. And the technology of the early systems didn't have the safeguards the new ones do.
Well, I think
that's why we have 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl.
Well, we had Chernobyl was a lot worse than 3 Mile Island.
Yeah.
And I think the U.S. safeguards are much better than those in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And the technology has improved a lot. The idea with these small modular reactors is that they are transportable in cargo containers, essentially. You might need 2 or 3 cargo containers, and then you basically put them on site and bury them. And when the fuel runs out, you ship them back to the factory to get refurbished.
Sounds like an easy enough deal.
Well, it's a good idea.
It's got to be checked out, made sure it's all good.
Right.
I'm sure it is. I mean, they do it on battleships. I mean, aircraft carriers anyway.
Well, and nuclear submarines.
Nuclear submarines. And there's supposed to be a battleship that's eventually going to be a nuclear powered battleship.
I know we had a nuclear cruiser, the Long Beach. I think it's been decommissioned now.
Okay. And we need them for the lasers.
Well, yes. I mean, and frankly, small nuclear power systems that you can transport around the world and use make electric combat vehicles a lot more plausible.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of, especially the small drones, use electric power plants. They don't use ICE engines.
Oh, yeah. No, the small ones are all lithium batteries, but somebody's got to charge them.
Well, that's right. And, there's all kinds of battery technology and research going on. And we don't know what the best battery will be 5 years from now.
One of my listeners says Chinese influence should be investigated. Will we do the same on Israel influence, AIPAC?
Well, Israel, as far as I can tell, we know we know what the Israeli influence is. It's all declared. I mean, so it's a little different.
It's not stealth, is it?
I don't think so. So that is one difference. I think, I mean, anytime you have foreign money coming in to influence political campaigns or politicians in general, it should be known.
Yeah.
So yes,
A lot of concerns
Yeah,
about Israel.
I think it's a fair question.
It is a fair question. I think it is always fair, and I'm glad when people put it out there because I wouldn't think of that, but I know people do. There's people that are anti-Semitic, huge in the country. There are anti-Semitism, and it's a country of 15 million people, and I think only.
Well, I think a lot of people are jealous.
Yeah.
Because you look at what Israel has accomplished, and you look at Jewish people, say culturally Jewish,
Yeah.
and they're at the top levels of society. They, people who try to measure things like IQ put them at the very high level. So people are jealous of their success.
Tom Cotton puts in here, still going back to the data centers, that alarming reports indicate that a network of foreign actors led by Chinese Communist Party is attempting to manipulate U.S. policy and public opinion on data centers. And it's because we have freedoms here. It's easier to do.
I think that's correct.
I don't think we should get rid of our freedoms, but we need to identify bad players and not take foreign money to do it. And that is against the law.
I think this is pretty common. I mean, I'm not saying that's good, but I think even relatively smaller players like Ukraine have at times invested a lot of money in influencing American politicians.
Possibly. It's not legal.
Well, it depends how it's done.
Okay.
I mean, there are legal ways to do it, but I suspect most of it is probably surreptitious.
I didn't even think it could be legal. Let's talk to Rodney Glassman. How are you, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, Russ. How are you doing?
Good. Just let you know you're on the air, man.
Oh, there's no better place to be than on the air. With Clark.
Good. How goes the campaign?
You know what? It's going amazing. I have to tell you, I am so proud to be a member of the United States Air Force, JAG Corps, and Lieutenant Colonel, especially when we're running for Attorney General on the platform of experience. Because having served for 17 years now in the Air Force, prosecuting drug dealers and financial crimes and, protecting victims of sexual assault, it's insane to hear my only Republican primary opponent go on a debate and attack me for not serving in the military.
No, he didn't.
It was literally about half of the debate last week was not spent talking about Arizona issues. Because as you know, Russ, I'm running to protect our cops and our kids and Arizona's prosperity. But believe it or not, my opponent, who, as you know, is just a career politician and a part-time realtor who got his law license 28 months ago, literally stood on the stage and was challenging my 17 years of service. And it's a guy who's never served. So things are going amazing, because only when your opponent is desperate would they be attacking your military service. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm surprised he would do that. I would think he would do his homework.
Yeah. It's but things are going spectacular. We have been traveling the state, as you know. When we were down in Yuma, we got to do a ride along with Sheriff Wilmot. The Maricopa County Sheriff Jerry Sheridan is co-chairing my campaign, because, as you know, the only person that can protect law enforcement is the Attorney General. And we was just with Tom Horn, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the former Attorney General, who is one of our other campaign co-chairs, just last night in an event, because most Arizonans don't realize that it's the Attorney General, the job that I'm running for, who provides all the lawyers for the Department of Education. And we're so happy with the support from Yuma, whether it's Russ Jones and Shelley Mellon and Robbie Barkley and Sonny Rodriguez, and we just tremendous support from the ag community and the business community and the education community, and the veterans community, where we have, obviously, in Arizona over 400,000 veterans. How are you doing?
I've got it easy, man. I don't have to travel very far. I'm a couple miles from the station. I don't have to travel the whole state like you, so I just go on a microphone and do it.
It's such a pleasure, though. I was in Kingman on Monday, and it's great to drive. It's great to wake up at 5 a.m, drive to Kingman for breakfast, and be able to say that you're supported by Congressman Paul Gosar. It's great to go down to Lake Havasu City and talk about your friendship with Sonny Borelli. It's great to,
Wow.
it's great to be able to be on the phone with you,
Yeah.
in Yuma, talking about how Shelley Mellon, Russ Jones' daughter, who's a big education advocate, was just, went online to rodneyglassman.com on Monday, and made a nice contribution. It's the amount of support that we're receiving because we have an insane Democrat attorney general right now. She sued the Trump administration for the 42nd time.
Is it
on
up to
Friday. Chris Mays
42?
did.
Okay.
It's up to 42. And
Wow.
and you remember I started my pitch in December, which was go to rodneyglassman.com and donate $1 for each of the 25 lawsuits that Chris Mays has filed against the Trump administration.
Uh-huh.
That was in December, Russ, and we're already up to 42. So every time, last Friday, I get a call from my staff and they say, hey, we got to update the button again. Because if you go to our website at rodneyglassman.com, there's a special button on the donate page. And every time she files one of those lawsuits, we have to change the button. But here's the fascinating thing. Who funds the attorney general's budget to file all these lawsuits?
Well, we do.
Yeah, the legislature.
Taxpayer,
So it's
yeah.
our tax dollars. And,
Right.
and Russ, in the Republican primary for attorney general, who's my opponent? The president of the state Senate. So literally my opponent, who is a part-time realtor and a part-time legislator and is 50 years old in September and got his law license 28 months ago. So he's never had a client. He's never prosecuted a criminal. He's never worked at a law firm as a lawyer. That guy, in addition to not having zero experience as a lawyer, is also the one that is days away from cutting a budget deal with Katie Hobbs. She calls my Katie Hobbs, crazy Katie Hobbs, the governor, calls my opponent, Warren Peterson, her favorite state senator, because when she passes these budgets with hundreds of millions of dollars of Democrat priorities, he's the enabler. He's also the enabler giving all those tax dollars to Chris Mays to sue President Trump. The whole thing's insane.
Wow. She's been doing that. I mean, it's been an embarrassment for me. I mean, I just
It's
crazy.
an embarrassment, and it's just a challenge, because imagine if you're a law enforcement family. You wake up every morning to leave your home to protect our households, right?
Right.
And you know that the top cop for the state of Arizona, Chris Mays, thinks it's okay to shoot ICE agents. Imagine if you're a family in Yuma who cares about school choice, who cares about charter schools or private schools or just strong public schools, or a family who just thinks that biological boys should not compete against girls. You've got Chris Mays, our insane Democrat attorney general, filing lawsuits because she thinks that boys should compete against girls, or you're a private property owner. We have an attorney general right now in Chris Mays. She's suing the 7 largest apartment owners in the state because she doesn't think that landlords should be able to decide how much they charge their tenants in rent. She's suing farmers across the state because she does not think that water rights are property rights, and she doesn't like the types of crops that they grow. She's suing the Hefty garbage bag company, Russ.
Why?
Because she doesn't like the way that they design their boxes, because their boxes have the word recycling on them. So she's decided that should be against the law too. She files a lawsuit, she sends out a press release, and she asks liberals across the country to send her money. That's how she's building her resistance resume. And as you know, Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force, JAG Corps. When I put on my uniform now as a reservist to go out to Luke, I run the active duty legal office of over 25 JAGs paralegal support staff who provide all the legal services for the 1-star general and all the squadron commanders. And I served at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. I served at Luke. I've served at Eielson, which is outside of Fairbanks, Alaska, and in the North Pole, and Goodfellow in San Angelo, Texas. And my opponent, because remember, we have to beat Chris Mays. So nominating someone with experience is so critical. And you'll like my analogy, because my opponent likes to talk about his legal experience as filing lawsuits as the leader of the legislature,
Right.
that makes him the client. It's the equivalent of one of your listeners who listens every day of the week to your show,
Yeah.
going around describing themselves as having a radio show because they listen
I have
to
those
yours.
guys. I do. I have them.
Yeah, it's armchair quarterbacks. But if we put up an armchair quarterback to run against Chris Mays, guess what we're going to get in November? 4 more years of Chris Mays, and Arizonans can't afford that. That's why we're traveling the state. That's why we're asking everyone to vote in this Republican primary coming up, which actually starts on June 24th. Believe it or not, we're just. And when Republicans get their ballot, we need them to check that Rodney Glassman and then tell their friends, because most Arizonans, Russ, if I ask most Arizonans, I say, who does the Attorney General work for? Do you know what the answer I get?
No.
The governor.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's what I expect.
The average Arizonan has common sense, and they think of the federal system. Remember, we elect the president appoints the Attorney General. And then if the president is tired of that Attorney General, they hire a new Attorney General. But in Arizona, we're one of the 46 states where we elect the Attorney General. And that means the Attorney General doesn't work for the governor, and the Attorney General doesn't work for the legislature. Who's the Attorney General supposed to work for?
The people, obviously. I mean, that's
exactly.
Who
and the people that put them there. And that's why I'm so appreciative of having the opportunity to just, pick up the phone and call in, because I do have an ag background. I've known, Tim and Eileen Dunn and Robbie Barkley and all these guys since I was 23. I'm 48 now. So for a quarter century, I have had friendships and relationships with farmers and business people and you and community people down in Yuma. And it's important to have, good old Rodney Short from the city of Yuma. He and I, we've known each other since before either of us went
to
law school. Yeah, and a great guy and a hell of a first name. Don't you agree?
No.
And but I'll tell you, it's those kind of relationships that are so important, because one of the things that I'll be able to do as Attorney General is show up. And when it comes to having an Attorney General who's working for you, that means having an Attorney General will be responsive to your issues and will view the law through the lens with which you've hired me to view it. I've been married to my law school sweetheart for almost 17 years. We have 2 teenage daughters. I'm the only Republican running for Attorney General that uses the F word in every speech, but the F word is family.
Oh, family.
Because if you care about cops and kids, you got to care about family, and it starts with your own. It starts, the number one indicator of academic performance in the schools is socioeconomics, and the number one indicator of socioeconomics is what? Family unit. It's about having statewide elected officials that stand up every morning and truly say, I have law enforcement's back every time. I'm going to work with President Trump, not just on securing the southern border, because the southern border down there is tremendously more secure than it was before President Trump. But think about the Yuma Medical Center. The Yuma Medical Center has $20 million worth of unreimbursed services from the Biden surges.
Yeah.
That the federal government made the Yuma Medical Center pay for. They never offered to pay it back. Now the border is secure. But what about those dollars? We don't have an Attorney General that can pick up the phone and just call the administration and say, hey, Yuma needs its money back, because we have an Attorney General too focused on poking the federal government in the eye. And that's where I come in.
She prides herself.
That advocate.
She prides herself.
She prides herself.
Yeah, she puts that on her.
That's how she funds her campaign.
Right.
But you know this. You've hired attorneys before. Oftentimes you hire an attorney not just to file a lawsuit, it's to provide leadership.
Yeah.
And so whether it's leadership in making sure that Arizona enforces the election laws we already have on the books, or whether it's leadership to make sure that the state of Arizona is working to find our next bucket of water and advocating for Arizona's water future, or whether it's as simple as just making sure that, the Arizona is enforcing the laws we have on the books when it comes to protecting our kids, like keeping biological boys out of girls' sports. We have to have someone that's actually done the job before. And that's where I come in, because in our Republican primary, as you know, there's only two choices. You'd never hire an orthopod that had never done a knee replacement before
No.
to do your knee replacement. Am I right?
Right.
And you would never get on a plane with a guy who just got his pilot's license and whose only experience was flying in first class.
Generally not.
To take you around with your family. And that's the interesting dynamic of our Republican primary. You've got me, an officer in the military, Air Force, 17 years of experience as a prosecutor, and my opponent at this debate, he goes, hey, tell me about your process. I said, talk to the guy at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base that went to prison because he wasn't just doing cocaine, but he was distributing cocaine. Talk to the guy at Luke Air Force Base, where I had to work with the IRS and the Department of Justice to prosecute him for COVID relief fraud. And then I looked right at my opponent and I said, have you ever prosecuted anybody for anything since being an intern in law school? And he got all upset at me.
Hey, I got to ask you, when you get to Davis-Monthan in a couple months, my son's going to be there, so stop by and say hello to him. He's going to be stationed.
What's he doing? He's stationed. He's assigned at Davis-Monthan.
Yeah. He's going to be. He's in Sicily right now. He's being transferred, I think, this month to Davis-Monthan.
What does he do?
Right. Well, he was a squadron commander for some Ospreys in Japan.
Oh my gosh.
Now he's in Sicily, working with some squadron of unmanned vehicles. I don't know what he's going to do in Davis-Monthan, but it's Lieutenant Colonel Robert Clark.
That is, you have to connect this offline because that will be a lot of fun. I'm down there every once in a while still for the occasional discharge board. Now that I'm assigned up at Luke as the, it's called IMA, to the staff judge advocate. So it's the backup general counsel for the base, but I still get a chance to go down and obviously do a lot of campaigning and visiting and relationships in Tucson, because I am, as you know, and we're far enough away from that terrible Final Four basketball game for me to start admitting it again. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Arizona.
Well, that's not bad, is it?
But
I think that's acceptable
Saturday,
here.
Yeah.
We'll be all right.
It's very acceptable, but you have to admit, after that Saturday night Final Four basketball game, we all had to kind of climb under a rock for a little bit.
Just put the shirt in the laundry for a while, leave it there, and you'll be all right.
But no, that is tremendous. I did not know you had a lieutenant colonel. John, and so you can appreciate. Actually, I'm sure you guys get the newspaper, and I'll send you the article. But we will. The Maricopa County Sheriff, Jerry Sheridan, because he's the chair of my campaign, he has served in the sheriff's department for 43 years, and after that debate, his wife Stacy, who's a big volunteer for our campaign, and my wife, as you can appreciate, were so disappointed in the nasty way that my primary opponent attacked my 17 years of service that we decided, Russ, when I say we, I mean the two ladies in my life, decided to release all 17 years of my military records, and I'm sure your son has sent them to you. The office. Remember the officer performance reports that used to be the bullets.
I've never asked for them. But I do follow him.
He doesn't send them to you. Yeah. He doesn't send them to you and say, "Dad, look what I did last year."
No.
Oh well, then he's
to me.
Then he's a quieter guy.
To me, he's still a kid. To me, but he's had quite the career. He's been overseas for 10, 15 years. I don't know. He's been in England.
The
and
amount of
Japan.
Sacrifice these active duty officers. Most people don't realize that and I know you have so many veteran community families down in Yuma. Most individuals who haven't served and don't have family members who have served don't realize that the active duty officers get reassigned every 2 years, and that their family, the sacrifice these families make, moving. I mean, I'm a reservist, and I've been overseas, probably about 7 times in my 17-year career, for shorter periods than obviously your son, all TDYs, but Germany and Bulgaria and Denmark and all mostly based as a JAG, working issues related to the law of armed conflict. But no, the sacrifices that are made are tremendous. And that's the reason why I'm so interested and focused on becoming Arizona's next attorney general, because you look at our military veterans and their sacrifices, you look at our law enforcement, and if we don't have an attorney general who's a career prosecutor, who's going to have law enforcement's back, then we're all screwed, because think about it, what happens at the border, and you know this, what happens at the border doesn't stop at the border. Did you know that Arizona is one of only 2 states where our fentanyl deaths are going up as opposed to the other 48 states where they've been going down?
I read some on that from Andy Biggs, actually, that we're not following the trend as the rest of the states.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because we have an attorney general that doesn't support law enforcement. And we need someone not only who supports law enforcement and says they support law enforcement, but who's actually worked as a prosecutor. My Republican primary opponent hasn't even prosecuted jaywalking. I mean, that is how zero experience
Rodney,
he has. But
I've got to let you go. I got to run, man. I'm running out.
Well, I appreciate you letting me pop on. Have your listeners visit rodneyglassman.com. Make the $42 now, because it's only going to go up again later this week. I'm sure Chris Mays is going to keep suing President Trump, and I hope we'll have their vote in the primary on June 24th. Rodney Glassman for Attorney General.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Dean, that was one of the most lengthy campaign advertisement calls I've ever received. He's really good at it, though.
He is good.
I was like, wow.
For those who don't know what TDY means, it means temporary duty.
Yeah, temporary duty. Yeah. Military town, most people would, I guess.
I think most people around here would, but I think there's also a significant minority that might not have been exposed to that term.
But the way he kept putting everything in stories about, his name and everything, he's
he did it with good. He's talented that way. He's obviously an effective campaigner.
It got to be where it was funny for me. I was like, it went on 18 minutes. I was like, wow. I got to congratulate him.
I didn't see any way to interject anything.
That was on purpose.
Yes. Not that I felt I had to. The only thing that I really thought would have been better is to explain what TDY was, and I just did that.
I do like him, though. I think he is what he says he is, and he's aggressive guy. I know he gets beat up on his past because he worked for Grijalva at one time. He was a Democrat.
Yes, but that was a fair while ago.
Yeah. I mean, he's been with Trump since 2016 when Trump came down the escalator. He flipped his
registration.
Yeah, he did at that point. And said he's been on the wrong side of things.
It's 10 years. That's 10 years ago. So that's a fair while.
Yeah, we were all Democrats at one time.
No, I don't think I. Well, I'd wait. I have to go back, and I wouldn't say I was a Democrat, but I voted for a Democrat once.
I registered Democrat when I first registered in Delaware.
I was a libertarian for a long time, and I was passionate about it, but turns out I was wrong.
Yeah. Libertarians are always interesting. I like, you could get 10 of them together, no one agrees on any one point. You can't all 10 have a different.
And I always disagreed with the border policy that we shouldn't have any borders. And I thought that's silly. That's crazy. That doesn't work. Yeah. But, that's one of the reasons I left the party.
Libertarians are fun. And Howard Blitz is one of the.
He's a great guy.
Great guy, libertarian. And I enjoy talking to him about stuff. But he does. He'll mention things about, well, we shouldn't even have any borders, and he drops it, and he doesn't add to that. Like, but if we don't have any borders, that means we shouldn't have any welfare programs that contribute. We shouldn't be giving them money. We're not responsible for their upkeep, and he doesn't say all that. He just says no borders.
In the early days of the Republic, the borders were far less monitored than they are now because we had natural barriers. You had to come over on a ship. It took weeks to get here.
Well,
that type of thing. And even along the Mexican border for a long period of time, it was pretty open. I mean, you look at the old Westerns heading for the border, it wasn't like they had to go through a checkpoint.
No, you didn't. Just went to the border.
Cross the river.
But back then you couldn't get into the country, have a baby, be a citizen,
right,
and get welfare and get all that. It didn't exist.
Correct.
If you want to come in here, you had to pull your own weight.
Exactly correct. And and still we attracted millions and millions of people because of the opportunity
right.
that was here.
Safety, opportunity, all that stuff. And we weren't perfect then. We're not perfect now, but
Right.
we're better than alternatives.
Exactly so. And I think we are the best alternative today in almost every category.
Yeah. Well, I was discussing this whole Senate and House, are now launching inquiries into the Singham network. I hope he becomes something that gets cut off and gets ended. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
Let's take a phone call from Gilbert. Good morning, Gilbert.
Back in the day, you couldn't go to California unless you had a certain amount of money.
Why?
And there's where Okietown became Okietown, because they didn't have the finances to get into California.
So
Are
it
you
was
aware of that?
vagrancy laws or something like that?
Well, you had to have X amount of dollars to get into California
Right.
at that
So
time.
that
during
you had
during-
means of your
during the-
support.
Who collected the money,
during
though?
the Dust Bowl.
Nobody collected it, did they? They just, you had
No,
to show you
no,
had it.
just had to have it. You had it, right?
Okay.
Exactly. That's how Okietown became Okietown in Yuma. And I had the honor of knowing Roger and Bill Turner, who their grandparents was one of the original Okies.
This was during the Depression, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And so you get people
So,
that thought they were going to California. They got here to the border and they say, show us some money. And they said, what?
Yeah, shows how can you? Yeah,
How can you support
live?
yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I one of my friends, his grandfather, I believe it was able to go across because he had a job waiting for him, and he proved that he had a job waiting for him at a dairy farm in California. So he was allowed to go into California. So we've had borders upon borders all along. And this morning, what happened, Carla had the car on. And so I have Bluetooth in the car.
Okay.
So the Bluetooth in the car took over my Bluetooth on my phone.
All right.
And that's why I couldn't hear you.
It happens.
I could see you, but I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
I have those problems. I do. Technology.
So I got a question to ask you, and I've been gone, so I haven't been able to listen to the show much.
Sure.
With the helicopter going down,
yeah,
saving the pilots, which is great and all that stuff. And Trump said that he's going to hit some targets.
Infrastructure.
IRGC.
We've lost a lot of Americans. What, 272 in Iraq? We lost in our militaries, our Marines. Was it where did we use all the Marines back in the day?
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Okay, we've lost a lot of people to Iran, correct?
Yes. Over the years.
Overall, yeah. I mean, in Lebanon, we had the Marine barracks that were bombed.
And that was
272 Marines?
I think that's correct, or very close.
Okay. So how many more people do we have to die before we take total destruction of Iran?
Well, total destruction is hard to, we're not going to nuke them. I don't think we're going to do that.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
An overthrow, though, the government, someone else take over the country.
I think that what we want is a friendly regime in Iran. I don't know that we're mostly set up to prevent them from exerting power outside their borders.
I understand all that. I respect all that. But right now, we can count 272 Americans.
And there's a lot more. There were a bunch during the Iraqi war.
Exactly. Because that's what I'm getting at. How many more Americans do we have to die before we take care of this problem and quit pussyfooting around?
Well, I think we've been taking care of it. I think that's what Trump has done.
No, we have been idle. We have not done anything to prevent them from firing anymore.
You want the bombing to continue until
I want it to continue till they cannot launch another missile.
Right.
Absolutely. We were fortunate We were very fortunate those two Apache crew were saved. And to get out of an Apache
Yeah.
when you're hit,
In the water. That's
well,
tough.
you know, Dean. you
Yeah,
worked at
I was.
YPG.
We were discussing it.
I worked at YPG. I've been around the Apache many times. And for them boys to survive
That was a tough deal.
is a miracle.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a miracle.
they do teach them how to get out if they have a forced water landing.
Yeah, but
There's training involved.
there's no ejection seats.
Right.
No, there's no ejection seat, and
There are no exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
so
We're fortunate. We are fortunate. Allow me to finish my anger this morning. We're fortunate we did not have two more Americans killed. Because what type of attack would he have done if we had lost two more Americans?
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know. Like I said, Dean, you were around Vietnam War. You know how many times we went to the Paris peace talks on the table and we stopped our bombing. We stopped the
Yeah,
bombing completely.
it was the
How
wrong.
many times? Dean?
In retrospect, you can see that it was clearly the wrong decision.
Aren't we doing the same damn thing today?
Well, first off,
Be honest.
it's a lot
be honest.
less time, and
But we're doing the same damn thing. You know what's really sad is when you have a Democrat on the 5 agreeing with what I'm saying.
well,
What's his name? Howard? Harold?
Yeah.
Harold?
Harold Ford.
Yeah, he agrees with what I'm saying. He said it last night.
Yeah.
He goes, why aren't we just going in there and taking care of it once and for all? Why are we continue to delay the inevitable?
I think you're going to get your way. I think that that 20 targets they just had yesterday was
But those targets are nothing.
oh yeah, they were. They were
Those
something. They were
targets-
defensive and radars. That means they
Yeah,
need to clear the
because-
path to open up the skies again. That's all.
Well, I agree. I agree. But we have control of the skies, Russ. We have control of the skies right now. We do.
Yep.
We do. So to me, I'm just afraid we're going to have Americans killed when we can do it from the air. I'm sorry people will die. I really am. I don't want war. But we've been dealing with these people forever. Forever.
I think you're going to get your wish. I think it's coming.
Well, I know. Well, as we say in Spanish, cuando. You know what cuando means?
No.
when
I'm
When.
going to educate. There you go, Dean. When? When?
Yeah.
Enough of this pussyfooting around, Russ. I'm sorry, but it smells. It smells like Vietnam again. We're going to the peace table. We're going to talk. We're going to find a treaty. There's a treaty tomorrow. Oh, there's a treaty. How many times have we heard there's going to be a treaty in 2 weeks? How many times have we heard that?
More than once.
More than twice?
Probably half a
More than 3
dozen.
times?
I don't
Half
know
a
exactly.
Yeah, it's been a few times.
Easy.
It's been moving a lot, and I think a lot of that is with the Middle East, people partners really with Qatar and Sand,
All those people would like to see Iran destroyed.
sure.
Right now, they're not talking because they're afraid of Iran because they've seen what happens.
I've
Look
seen
at how
it.
many Christians were beheaded. Not 3 weeks ago?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Or was that in the African coast?
Well, I don't know, but I have a good friend who is in charge of a lot of missionary work in that part of the world, and he relayed a prayer request to me that he still had one of the people that was planning churches there, who's a native of Iran, and that several of the converts had been martyred. So that, I think what you're saying is happening. Christians are being persecuted and killed in Iran, probably right now.
Yeah, yes, right now. Yes. And that's why I'm so, I'm a Christian. I'm not a Bible thumping Christian, but I am a Christian. I do read the good book. I try to read it every night or in the morning. And I see the signs of what's happening, and we can prevent destruction in the world if we choose to.
Well, I think that's what the attempt is, Gilbert. I hope it comes in. I'm running out of time, my friend. I'm going to have to run. I
All right.
appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Russ.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. With that, we got to go, Dean. It's time to get to work.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have lots of stuff to do.
I appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow. This is, let me see, Mortgage One Studios, Russ Clark. We'll be back. See you tomorrow.